Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Council Chambers in Los Angeles City Hall. Today is Friday, July 11th, 2011, and this is a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council. My name is June Lagnay. I am the City Clerk for the City of Los Angeles, and I will be the presiding officer for this one meeting only, just until the City Council completes the election of its Council President. For your information, Council meets 3 times a week on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. All meetings are open to the public. Meetings are also televised via cable on Channel 35 and can be viewed by visiting our website at www.lacity.org. You can also listen to Council meetings on Council phone by dialing 213-621-CITY. Members of the public can also provide public comment via remote video from Van Nuys and San Pedro City Halls. The Council meets at Van Nuys City Hall the first Friday of every other month. This meeting of the Los Angeles City Council is now in session. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Englander, Garcetti, Hahn, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Wesson, Zine. 13 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you very much. Pursuant to Council Rule Number 1, the first order of business today will be the election of a president by the Los Angeles City Council, which requires a majority vote by open ballot. So it has been the tradition of the City Council to conduct this election of the Council President by a voice vote conducted in alphabetical order, and unless I hear an objection, we will proceed in that fashion. Is there any objection? As the clerk calls your name, please state the name of the council member you are voting for to be the President of the City Council. Madam Clerk, you may proceed with the vote.
Mr. Alarcon.
Eric Garcetti.
Mr. Cardenas.
The Sailor, Eric Garcetti.
Mr. Englander.
Eric Garcetti.
Mr. Garcetti.
Oh, you forgot.
I'm sitting in the wrong seat. That's right. Eric Garcetti.
Ms. Hahn.
Eric Garcetti.
Mr. Koretz.
Well, I hate to do the same thing as everybody else, but Eric Garcetti anyway.
Mr. Krikorian.
Despite his not being certain of what chair to sit in, Eric Garcetti.
Mr. Labange.
Eric Garcetti.
Mr. Parks.
He's out. He's just in the back or something.
He's coming up. Are they bringing him? Okay. All right. Yeah, his staff is bringing him in the back door right now.
Oh, there he is. He's coming.
All right. There you go.
I decline to serve. No, I vote for Eric Garcetti.
Ms. Perry.
Garcetti.
Mr. Reyes.
Eric Garcetti.
Mr. Rosendahl.
With great enthusiasm, Eric Garcetti.
Mr. Zine.
A legend. Eric Garcetti.
13 votes for Mr. Garcetti.
Unanimous vote.
Yeah. Come on.
Doesn't matter when you got it.
I deserve it.
I deserve the head of baby. Thank you.
All right, chair then.
Thank you very much. Let's give June Lagnay a great round of applause, our city clerk.
since you did June, let's introduce all the great clerks who help here.
We've got a
for us.
tremendous number. Anna Patrice, we've got Brian here, we've got, well, June is the person who oversees the entire office, but we are always aided by our council clerks. We've got our voting clerks as well as our recording clerks, and then the indomitable one and only Dion, city attorney. We did have a constitutional crisis, hypothetically. The mayor is out of the state, and I guess June Lagme was the mayor there for a moment as the acting president, so you can put that on your resume as well. But our second order of business, colleagues, and then I'd like to say a couple words to begin our new session, is to elect a council president pro tem. We will, if there's no objection, continue with the same method that we just used, going in alphabetical order, and we'll start with Mr. Alarcon.
Council members, with all due respect to citywide candidates, I nominate or I vote for Herb Wesson. Thank you.
Mr. Cardenas.
Councilmember Jan Perry.
Mr. Englander.
Councilmember Jan Perry.
Ms. Hahn.
Jan Perry.
Mr. Koretz.
Jan Perry.
Mr. Krikorian.
Jan Perry.
Mr. Labange.
Jan Perry of the great 9th District.
Mr. Parks.
He's going to give me a twitch here. Jan Perry.
Ms. Perry.
Jan Perry.
Mr. Reyes.
Let's see Jan in Spanish.
No, Jan Perry.
Mr. Rosendahl.
Yeah, to the pro who's pro temp, Jan Perry.
And Mr. Zine.
The wonderful, intelligent, sophisticated Jan Perry.
Congratulations, Ms. Jan Perry is elected with a myself, Jan Perry, 12-1 vote. We'll send this out in a letter as well, but under the council rules as well, the president of the council appoints an assistant president pro tem, and I'd like to appoint at this time Councilmember Dennis Zine to continue in that role as well. Mr. Zine, thank you for serving, and we appreciate it very much. Mr. Labange?
A technical question. In the period of time when Ms. Lagme was at city clerk and there was no president and the mayor's out of town, who was the acting mayor at that moment?
That's what I was saying. It might have been Mrs. Lagme.
Ms. Lagme? Okay,
Absolutely.
good. Like the Secretary of State would fall down to that program, like Al Haig.
Yeah, Al Haig, I think, was technically the mayor. Colleagues, if you'll indulge me 1 second, I'm just going to speak from the chair. Let me talk about this body now for a moment, because now that we've dispensed with the election, we are beginning the first day of the 44th session of the Los Angeles City Council, the modern day incarnation of the City Council. Today, July 1st, begins our 44th session. And colleagues, if I can have a moment just to talk a little bit about what we've accomplished in the last 2 years and who we are. First and foremost, let me thank you all for the honor of serving you. This is today a very special day for me. I want to thank my family and others that are here in support and who have sustained me. But I also want to thank my city family here around this horseshoe, an extraordinary group of men and women, although women seem to be more and more endangered every day, which is something we need to address, but an extraordinary group of Angelinos who are committed to making this city and each of our communities the best that they can be. Today we celebrate a new council member who comes in, Councilmember Mitch Englander, who celebrates his first day. And we welcome him. He is certainly no stranger to the chambers, but he comes here today with a different role. All of you who have moved desks here today, I think there's a very important lesson, because sometimes when we sit at our seats and at our desks, we begin to feel like it's home. And for a period of our life, this is our home. But I remember the great Warren Christopher in his autobiography, and I think I shared this with you after our friend Chris passed just a couple months ago. He was asked in his time after being Secretary of State, and he was not going to be the Secretary of State for the second term, do you feel bad about that? Do you feel like you'll miss something? And he said to regret that for even a moment would have made me feel like this was my position, when in fact I was just a steward of it for a short period. We move desks, and one day we will move away from these chambers. But in our time here, whether it's our first day or like for Ms. Hahn and Mr. Reyes and Mr. Zine and Ms. Perry, who today celebrate their 10-year anniversary of being city council members, and for everybody in between, we are given the privilege and the responsibility of doing the people's business. I want to thank you for the last 2 years. I want to thank you for what we've been able to work on. Jan and Greg, who is not in the chambers anymore, for the work on holding DWP accountable. Richard, for making sure that we never forget that jobs are needed in our communities and by our people. Tony, the way that you will never give up on one young person in this city, no matter who they are, where they come from, and what challenges they face. Jose, working with you on political reform and continuing that fight. Janice, the way that you demand that jobs that are here in the city must be good-paying jobs, and they must be local at the port and throughout the city, and the way that you never retreat on the issue of justice. Bernard, the way that you have uncompromisingly looked at our budget and done the hard work that few others will do sometimes, to say the truth that people don't want to hear quite often, but to right the financial ship that we have righted collectively. Bill, the way that you are the great educator and making sure that health and pension reform is something that we never forgot, and that we laid the foundation for the change we were able to do by first educating ourselves and the public about the importance of that. Ed, the incredible development that you guide. You are our colleague, our friend, and our guide on all things having to do with planning, but with a sense of justice and a sense of where you came from, and the work that you continue to do to revitalize the backbone of this city, the Los Angeles River. I thank you. For Dennis, the way that you have made sure that there is accountable and transparent government, and the way you go on talk radio and make sure there's somebody there representing a certain faction of us. We appreciate all that you do as well. And Herb Wesson is in our thoughts and our prayers today. Councilmember Wesson is not here because his mother passed away shortly after the City Council meeting on Wednesday. And we, as a council, embrace him. We thank him for the incredible work he's doing in keeping people in their housing, working on economic development. But in particular, our thoughts and our prayers are with him and his family, having lost his mother just this week. Paul, and I can't even say Kay, Koretz, the amazing work that you have done as well to make sure that we never forget our city employees and what we can do, that within our city that there are the ideas to change and to reform and to right this city. You have been an amazing friend and a colleague as well. Thank you for that. And Paul Krikorian, who I think is as close to communities as anybody that's on this council, and we are all extremely close, who believes in the inherent rights of representation at that local level. Thank you for fighting that fight and for keeping things accountable as well. I didn't go in any order. So Tom, my brother, both with Ed and Tom, who I border, it's always felt like a seamless relationship. It's one super district, Council District 18, if you add up, I guess, all of our, yeah, is that right? Yeah, 18 we'll call it. But Tom, who just is Mr. LA, working with you, Tom, is a great joy, whether it's the Silver Lake Meadow or whether it's making sure that our Recreation and Parks Department or our libraries are kept strong. You're a great man and a great colleague. I still love this place, colleagues, as much as the first day that I came here. It is a difficult place, but it is the most beautiful place to exercise democracy. You know, it's not just what we do here, it's how we do it. We do it openly, we do it regularly, we do it vigorously, and we do it collaboratively. Around the country, we see people fighting with one another about what they see as differences. Here, we sometimes don't grab the headlines, but we quietly have the conversations behind the scenes, whether it's in our union and pension negotiations, whether it's doing the hard policy work of revitalization of parts of our city that takes literally sometimes decades. You all are those folks, and that's what I love about you, is that you come here and you go to your job every single day thinking, how can I get somebody back to work? How can I take somebody off the street? How can I build another park? How can I make sure that decent pay is the reward for hard work? And in 2 years, we've accomplished so much. Just to give you an idea, guys, we have balanced $1.6 billion of deficit. $1.6 billion of deficit since the economic downturn. $250 million in pension reform already. While other people talk about it in an abstract and a future thing, we have done that here. We have made sure that we stand up for ratepayers at the Department of Water and Power. We have made sure that our libraries will be back open. We have held the line on public safety and seen crime continue to go down. the list could go on, and in each one of your districts, I know there are dozens of things that we could talk about. But I leave you with this thought, which is as you begin this, the 44th session of the City Council, and before the City Council, there was the Ayuntamiento here, and before that, there were probably councils that even the native peoples had to make decisions. Democracy can be difficult. Democracy can be painful. But democracy can be incredibly beautiful. Democracy can show us what is best about this city, that the children and the grandchildren and great-grandchildren of slaves, of laborers who built this place, of immigrants who fled genocide and war, can come here in this city, the most American of all cities, because America, after all, is about the idea that there are not barriers that hold us back. It is the strength of our idea, the size of our heart, and the willingness to work that gets us forward. And you think about other places, the East Coast and other places, you'd have to wait years to be where you are right now. You are here. Never forget who we serve, and I will never forget that I serve you. And thank you for the honor of serving as your council president. Ms. Perry. Thank you very much, colleagues. Your President Pro Tem, Ms. Perry.
President Pro Tem. Thank you, Mr. President, and I'm very grateful to each and, well, let's see, almost every one of you for voting for me today. And although I know my friend votes on principle, and I appreciate and respect him for that, I am very pleased to be reelected, and as Janice and I are the last two women on the City Council, 2 out of 15, it has a particular significance, I hope, to young ladies and other folks who are out watching, but particularly to the young women who might be watching, to know that women can hold leadership positions in the Los Angeles City Council too, in a city as diverse as this one. With the advent of term limits, we now have a lot of change and a lot of upheaval and a lot of transition. It will be constant because this is what the voters wanted. But what I urge all of my colleagues to do is to act with great urgency, act with great passion, be unfettered, be unafraid, and whenever you have a question about why we're here, just step outside and spend more time outside of this building, and you will be reminded of why we're here, who sent us, and what we're supposed to accomplish in the time that we have been given. And I look forward to the next several years with great enthusiasm, with great excitement. I still feel as excited as I was the first day I came through these doors back in 1990 as a staff person, and worked for 3 council members and a mayor, and then went on to run for a council seat myself. And so I hope that can serve as an inspiration to people who want to and have a strong desire to serve people who are in need. So thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. I know we have a number of presentations, but I sure would love to hear some music from our Crenshaw Choir. Why don't we have them come forward? Maybe they can give us a song. Are you guys ready? Or you need a little more time? 1 minute. All right. We'll take 1 minute, and then we're going to hear a little music, and we'll begin our special presentations. Thank you all very much, and stand by as we begin our meeting. Can you please call the roll, Madam Clerk? Oh, we already did that. Sorry. The clerk did that. While we're waiting that 1 minute, why don't we run through the agenda real quick? Colleagues, if there's any items you wish to call special while we're waiting the choir, let's go ahead and do that. First items, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Zion moves, Mr. Reyes seconds without objection. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
All right, Mr. Englander moves and Mr. Alarcon seconds. Without objection, we'll go ahead and move that. We're going to run through the agenda, and then I'd like to hear from Mr. Englander to say a few words. Actually, Mr. Englander, go ahead and do it before we run through the agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our newest council member to our chambers from the 12th Council District, the man who moved everybody 1 seat over, Mitchell Englander.
All right. Thank you. I am standing. Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. And I had to say that before any of you threw that out, which I know you would soon. I just wanted to take a minute and thank you all. And I know what an honor and a privilege it is to be here. I know what a tough road it was to get here, not just through the campaign, but my entire life. Having been a kid that struggled in the San Fernando Valley, to grow up and struggled as many of the families are struggling today, being born and raised by a single mom who had lost everything. And after having lost her and many other family members through tragedy, I know that a kid from the San Fernando Valley can give back just as much as anybody else. And we've been able to do that together. But I just wanted to take a second, and I wanted to recognize our new council president yet again, and all the words that he just said about the changing of the guard and shifting seats, and realize that we are here for a very short time. And that Ms. Perry had just stated our pro tem again, and congratulations to you, well deserved. It's great to have great leaders in the city once again. But as she pointed out, coming in as a staff member and having that experience to hit the ground running, to get so much done, particularly now in such a difficult economic time. But I didn't want to give a political speech. I actually wanted to take the time to recognize my family who stood by me through so much. My wife, together, we've been together for 22 years, Jane Englander. My daughters, Lindsay and Lauren, who are here today as well. Because it is all about family, and we've been through, I know we're going to go through a lot together now in this new role. And so that's the most important thing to me, is coming home to a strong family and being there together. So I love you, and thank you for being there through all these difficult times, and look forward to a lot of fun times and doing great things for the city and our community together. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Englander. That has a nice sound to it, and welcome aboard. Let's go ahead through the items that any folks want to call special. Please, first group.
Items 1 through 15 are items for which public hearings have been held. Okay. There are cards on items 6 and 8.
Okay. Anybody wishing to reopen those public hearings? If not, then we'll continue to have the public hearing closed on that or fulfilled. Any specials, 1 through 15? If not, let's go ahead and open the roll. Mr. Englander's first vote. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Items 16 through 28 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
There's no objection to consideration. Those are before us. Mr. Zion, yes?
Wasn't paying close attention. I should have. 11 and 12 I wanted to call special.
Okay, we'll come back to 11. Thank you. Okay, do we have cards on any of the 16 through 28?
19, 21, 24, 25, and 27.
Okay, we'll call those special for cards from the public. Close the other public hearings. Any specials, colleagues? 16 through 28? If not, let's go ahead and prepare the roll. And please tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
All right, those are approved. Next items.
On the continuation agenda, item 29 is a public convenience and necessity item in Council District 9. A motion to grant or deny the application is required.
Okay,
Request to continue that one more week, please.
Okay, we'll continue that one more week till July 8th.
Sorry, Mr. President, till July 5th.
July which one? 4th?
5th.
5th. July 5th without objection, so that will continue till Tuesday. We'll continue item 29. Item 30?
Item 30 is an item for which public hearings have been held.
I'll call that special. Okay. And we'll wait on the special meeting items. Mr. Parks?
Item 30, we'd like to move the budget and finance report.
Okay. We'll move that. I called it special as well, just discuss it for a little bit. We'll move that when it comes to it. Okay. And with that, we will now go to our presentations, and I think it is time for our souls to be uplifted and for the music to be felt. Great to have Crenshaw in the house. We'll reconsider both 11 and 12 right after that. Thank you, Mr. Zion. Sorry about that. The floor is yours.
Easy go salt wheel, way up in the middle of the air. Easy go salt wheel, way in the middle of the air. Easy go salt wheel, way up in the middle of the air. Easy go salt wheel, way in the middle of the air. Easy go salt wheel, way up in the middle of the air. Easy go salt wheel, way in the middle of the air. Big blue one my day. Some go to church want to say yes. Some go to church want to sing and shout. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Before 6 months, things all turned out. Way in the middle of the well,
That's the way to start a new council session. Thank you very much. Thank you for blessing us with your presence here today. And with that, I'd like to recognize the council member for Crenshaw, Council District 8, Bernard Parks, for a very special send-off to some Crenshaw High School students.
That's so much fun.
Thank you, Mr. President. You can show you how important the Crenshaw Choir, elite choir is to us, is that the one rhythm that Mr. Rosendahl had, he showed it to us today. Let me ask Blair Taylor to come up, Urban League. Also, let me ask all of the students to come up behind us as part of this presentation. We're joined here by Jan Perry, the 9th District, who's been very helpful to us on this issue, not only helping us with buses, but also being a part of looking at this exchange as being a great benefit, along with the Kinsey Foundation, in the sense of their art collection that's a part of this cultural exchange. Today, colleagues, we are here to honor 35 students from Crenshaw High School in what is called the C2C program, Crenshaw to China. It's an educational and cultural exchange for Crenshaw High School students, and including the Crenshaw Elite Choir that we heard just a minute ago. These 35 students and the league will travel courtesy of American Airlines on July the 14th to the 23rd to Shanghai and Beijing, China. Most of the students have never traveled outside the United States or California. Some have never been outside of Los Angeles. The educational and cultural exchange experience in collaboration with Bernard and Shirley Kinsey, who we had here last week as part of the book fair, and the Kinsey collection that was exhibited in 2010 at the Smithsonian Museum in Washington. This delegation is sponsored by Mattel, MSNBC, Starbucks, and UPS. This C2C delegation will initiate a cross-cultural exchange, allowing students to learn about the richness of both African American and Chinese cultures, as well as expose African American students to the foreign business and trade and advancement of global economy. The delegation will lecture at Renmin University and will have the opportunity to explore the rich culture of China via excursion to the Great Wall, the Forbidden City, and the Tiananmen Square. The delegation will visit the China-based operations for Mattel, UPS, Starbucks, and the Nielsen Company. I just want to tell you go to Tiananmen Square, get there early, and wear some comfortable shoes. Let me ask Jan Perry to come up and speak at this time. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks, and to the Urban League and to the Crenshaw Elite Choir and all the students who are surrounding us right now. This is a very exciting moment that we are witnessing in their lives, and as they go to China, they not only represent themselves, their school, and their community, but they represent the city of Los Angeles, and I know that they'll be welcomed with open arms. And I think that people will learn as much from them and how they comport themselves and carry themselves as they will bring back, and hopefully they will share with us. I'm very excited for all of you and the adults who support you, and thank you for doing this, and to the sponsors too for giving these young people this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I know that they will make the most of it, and it may be one point in their lives that helps them define who they are and the steps they will take next. Thank you.
Let me ask now the president of the Los Angeles Urban League, Blair Taylor, to come up. He's the one that conceived and put this program together, and we'd certainly like to hear from him, as this is part of the larger 75-block initiative that the Urban League took on several years ago.
Thank you, Councilman Parks. Good morning, council members. Thank you, Councilwoman Perry. Mr. President, I just want to say quickly, it is a thrill and an honor to be here this morning with Crenshaw High School. Crenshaw is in the house this morning. All right? And I know we're not supposed to mix church and state, but that last tune had to have everybody giving up their praises this morning here in council chamber. And we are certainly grateful to God for the opportunity to lead Crenshaw to China. I will tell you, these young people have been working diligently for the past 6 months, going through a training program that has been extensive, run by the Los Angeles Urban League, preparing themselves to be ambassadors for this city. And they know that that responsibility is awesome. They are going to form relationships that are 21st century relationships. Crenshaw High School is on the move. We're doing the things that we need to do. Graduation rates at Crenshaw High are up 57% over the last few years. But I'm here to tell you this morning that's not enough. Our young people have to see the vision of what's possible in the 21st century, and they have to form those relationships, and that's what this is all about. And the last comment I want to make is just a huge thanks to the sponsors, UPS, Mattel, Starbucks, American Airlines, who've gotten behind this thing, MSNBC, and said, we see the vision, we see the importance, and we see the opportunity. Our future is in good hands with these young people, and Councilman Garcetti, President Garcetti, said it best this morning. This is why you're here. Thank you all.
Thank you, Blair.
Yeah, I'd like one of the students to come up who spoke this morning. I don't know where you guys are. Oh, why don't you come on up to the microphone and quickly address the council on behalf of the students.
Hello, my name is Jordan Williams. I attend Crenshaw High School. I am now a sophomore. When I started in this program, I was a 10th grader. Really, I just want to just give a thanks to our sponsors that have really helped us financially and spiritually. You know, Starbucks, Mattel, UPS, American Airlines, who've paid, well, given us a free ride from America to China. So just thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Jordan.
Colleagues, I'd like to ask Noel Massey, the president of UPS, and also Kim Ingram Thompson from the Starbucks to come up and make a comment. They're two of the sponsors that are here. Oh, excuse me.
On behalf of Starbucks and our CEO, Howard Schultz, and our 200,000 employees whom we call partners across the globe, we are so honored to partner with the Los Angeles Urban League and the Crenshaw High students to embark on this amazing adventure across the globe. With Starbucks, our goal to partner with the Crenshaw High students is really simple. We want to see them succeed in school and beyond. And we have already contributed not only financially, but we've also contributed hundreds of hours volunteering at the school to really further this and to create a sustained community impact. And so we are thrilled to stand here to sponsor these students. We are so looking forward to the impact that they are going to have not only on their personal lives, but in their community and in their family. And so we're honored to stand here to be supporters of this amazing adventure. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the council for making this opportunity available this morning. Specifically, my name is Noel Massey. I'm president for UPS here in LA County and beyond up to the San Francisco Bay Area. I want to likewise talk about the importance of this event. This event is a reflection of what's happening in the world, the global economy. UPS is 400,000 employees represented in 220 countries, but our genesis was here in America, and we're very proud of what we represent as an American company. Going forward, our young people need to understand the globe, and they need to understand the significance of other economies to our economy. This event recognizes that. You know, vision is the ability to see around corners, and I want to recognize the LA Urban League and their president and CEO, Blair Taylor, for not only having the ability to see around corners, but also the wherewithal to travel through them. That's an important aspect of community support in community involvement in the Los Angeles County Urban League, without question, represents all of that. So this was easy for UPS to get behind. It was easy for UPS to support. And I want to, again, recognize that group for their vision and thank Councilman Bernard Parks for having us this morning. Thank you.
Let's stay right here. And Mr. Parks and I would like to recognize the Los Angeles Urban League, Mr. Blair Taylor, and United Parcel Services.
Thank you.
Of course, Crenshaw High School, and to the representative from Starbucks. We can just take a little.
I just want to say Truth in Advertising. I wanted to wait until she finished her presentation, but Kim Ingram Thompson is my niece. But I wanted to see if she did a good job before I nominate.
Okay, everybody face that direction. We'll take a quick picture. Go in the back.
While we are taking those pictures, we have a couple council members who'd like to add their good wishes. Councilmember Zine and then Councilmember Labange.
Thank you, Mr. President, and to the sponsors, thank you. To the students, this is going to be a life-changing experience. I had the opportunity to go to China a few years ago on behalf of the city of Los Angeles, and you will see sights that are unimaginable. It's incredible what that country has done, and when you look at the Great Wall, you will actually walk on the Great Wall. It's phenomenal. One thing I will remind you is make sure you get a camera. You take a lot of pictures because those are memories that will last you forever and ever. But to UPS, to Starbucks, to Urban League, great opportunity for these students. Many people in the United States never get a chance to go abroad. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. Enjoy it, but capture those pictures. They'll be an experience of a lifetime. So congratulations to y'all, Mr. Parks, Ms. Perry, for helping bring this together. But to the Urban League, all the good you do to help educate people, improve their lives, this is phenomenal. So congratulations to y'all. Have a great trip, a safe journey. And again, it's an opportunity of a lifetime to participate in that type of, and it is a true adventure to go to China. Bless you on your trip.
Mr. Labange.
Congratulations to everybody. 30 years ago, then Mayor Tom Bradley, 6'5", then City Council President John Farrell, 6'4", led a delegation, first sister city, Los Angeles, Guangzhou, Old Canton. And so much has changed in 30 years rapidly, and now they're both up in heaven, looking down and happy for Crenshaw, happy for Bernard and Jan and everybody. I don't know if they had Starbucks when John was drinking coffee there, or maybe Mr. Bradley, but what's so important is Blair Taylor said, this is what we're going to do, and he got collaboration of people. So, and it's nice to have a niece at Starbucks, Bernard. I know that's good. I don't have any nieces at Starbucks, but that's the beauty of life where we can help people. I'm teasing you. Starbucks is a great company. They're in every neighborhood, which is so important, and they have a community plan. And UPS, they're all over the world. But what you'll learn beyond the pictures is the people. And the people in China is a tremendous place. And we share China, much history in Los Angeles, in California, and what the Chinese did to build, the discrimination that faced the Chinese in the Inclusionary Act for well over almost 90 years, I believe. But all that is history you will learn, and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the Crenshaw Choir. Forgive me. I'm talking to Bernard, who's sitting next to me. This is my first time over on this side. I used to sit over there, and I'm saying, man, that's Crenshaw High. All right, Crenshaw High, I'm saying. Man, they got some few older students at Crenshaw High. But it's the elite choir known around the world as ambassadors for Los Angeles, which is special. So this is good. The Olympic Games in Beijing, the Olympic Games in Los Angeles. In 1932, the Chinese sent their first athlete to the Olympic Games, the modern games. In 1984, they sent their team, the first time after the revolution. So there's much history all the way around. And Mr. Parks and I published this map on the history of the Olympic Games. Each of you will get a little copy to see the world through the Olympic movement as well, because it's not only just the athletes, it's art and entertainment and music that makes the world go around. Congratulations, Crenshaw. Congratulations, Urban League.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. And good luck to the students. I remember having a conversation with Blair Taylor a few years ago when he took a first trip, I think, as Urban League president to China, just the importance of really connecting the heart of this community and the heart of what is growing in China. You've really been a visionary doing that. It's so wonderful to see the young people, and thank you to our sponsors for making that possible. This will change their lives. They will come back here, and since we are the capital of the Pacific Rim, they'll be able to be those ambassadors to our West, the Far East, and ensure that Los Angeles remains as strong and that capital of the Pacific Rim for years to come. So God bless you all. Thank you, Mr. Parks and Ms. Perry as well. Next, I'd like to recognize for the 5th Council District.
Shay Shay. That's thank you in Chinese.
Thank
Shay
you.
Shay. Shay Shay.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize from the 5th Council District for a very special presentation, Paul Koretz. And we started the day with some music, and I know we've got some very special connection to music coming next. So, especially for the Crenshaw Choir, you may want to stay tuned for this one.
Well, thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. This is a very interesting musical morning, unintentionally themed as such. It gives me great joy to recognize the one and only Hal David this morning. We're so proud of his... We're so proud of this remarkable 5th District resident who recently celebrated his 90th birthday. And Hal is joining us today with his wife Eunice and his son Jim. Hal is a distinguished member of the Songwriters Hall of Fame. His words have graced the American music scene and cinema for decades. For generations, songs that he helped create have brightened people's lives, and he has gifted us with so much that is special. Hal got his start in New York, experimenting in lyrics as he made a living from journalism. After he wrote his first hit for bandleader Sammy Kaye in the 1940s, he came out with a number of successful pieces, putting him on the map in what was a very competitive but wonderfully creative New York music scene, centered in the famous Brill Building, which is where in the late 1950s, Hal teamed up with another up-and-coming artist, composer Burt Bacharach. The two teamed up, which is a blessing for all of us because they would go on to craft some of the most beloved pieces in American musical history. Their separate styles complemented each other perfectly, and together they wrote hits for many renowned artists, such as Dionne Warwick, The Carpenters, Dusty Springfield, Gene Pitney, Jackie DeShannon, B.J. Thomas, and Tom Jones. It's often said that Burt Bacharach writes melodies of intense complexity and challenging musical structure, so it's a compliment to him, but also a terrific tribute to Hal David, that their words and music always seem to mesh so effortlessly. Countless people have been enthralled, transfixed, and even transformed by songs like This Guy Is in Love with You, I'll Never Fall in Love Again, Do You Know the Way to San Jose, What the World Needs Now Is Love, I Say a Little Prayer, One Less Bell to Answer, Anyone Who Had a Heart, and many, many, many others, many hits by those two. Their work was nominated for Oscar numerous times, including Alfie, The Look of Love, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, and my own favorite, What's New, Pussycat? Whoa, 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 what's new, Pussycat? Sorry about that. I just couldn't resist. I think of that song every time we do a Feline Friday adoption, but I've resisted the temptation till now. Hal has also done amazing work with other composers, including Albert Hammond, Sherman Edwards, John Barry, and Paul Hampton. He's written for jazz greats and has penned country standards. In 1984, he was selected to the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, and yet his achievements go beyond extraordinary songwriting. He was president of the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers in the 1980s, and he's currently its legislative chairman. He's also a founder of the Music Center, serves on the board of the National Academy of Popular Music, and is in his Hall of Fame. He is a member of the Board of Governors of Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, and quite recently he received the first Visionary Leadership Award from the Songwriters Hall of Fame. For all these reasons and more, I'm thrilled that we're honoring Hal David, who has given the world so much pleasure and beauty through his tremendous contributions to American cultural history. But of course, the best way to celebrate Hal David is to delight you with a taste of his work, other than my bad couple of lines. And for that reason, joining us today is LAPD Officer Rosalind Curry, who's going to sing a brief medley. You all know her because in the past, her singing has uplifted us in the saddest of situations, a memorial service for an officer whose life has been lost in the line of duty. But it's great we're here on a much happier occasion with not much advance notice, but this great opportunity to celebrate one of the greatest men of song, Hal David. Officer Curry.
I just want to say this is an honor for me because I grew up off this music. And when they asked me to sing, I'm like, what am I going to sing? So I said, you know what? Let's just do a medley of songs. So in honor of you, Mr. David, this is for you. The look of love is in your eyes. A look your smile can't disguise. The look of love is saying so much more than just words could ever say. And what my heart has heard, well, it takes my breath away. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Why do birds suddenly appear every time you are near? Just like me, they long to be close to you. Why do stars fall down from the sky every time you walk by? Just like me, they long to be close to you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Officer Curry. That was tremendous. For those of you who want to enjoy a whole evening of Hal David's works, he'll be celebrated by many of his peers in honor of his 90th year at a special concert benefit at the Music Center on October 17th. So mark that on your calendar. But now it's my great honor to introduce the legendary Hal David.
Thank you very, very, very much. I came to Los Angeles from New York many years ago, and I found my wonderful wife, Eunice, here. I found so many good friends and loyal friends here. I have found good weather here, and I found lots and lots of good luck here. And I'm very appreciative of this, of Faraz firstly singing my songs. I must say I couldn't sing a cappella at all. And I've been writing songs for about 60 years. So I'm thrilled with Faraz. And I'm thrilled with this little celebration we're having here. And I very much want to thank Paul Koretz, our councilman. He's a wonderful guy. He came down. My wife was the president of our condominium, and she asked him to come down and talk to the board. He did, and I'm very, very pleased that he is my councilman. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davis. And we've got two other council members who'd like to add their good wishes as well. Councilmember Alarcon is our first, and then Councilmember Rosendahl.
Yes, Paul, thank you for bringing a real icon to City Hall. Hal David grew up on your music, mostly listening to my sister playing her records, those little, the 78s that she used to play on a funky little record player. And I was just sitting here thinking, if every police officer could approach their contact with a song like "The Look of Love," as they're making their arrest, wouldn't that be something special? But I think it points to the impact that you've had on the world, because if I remember right, almost all of your songs are about love. And it would be great if more people would embrace the simplest notion of love that you present in your music. So thank you so much, and continued success.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes. Thank you very much for all you've done for all of us on the planet. You know, music transcends nations and languages and cultures, and it unites us in a beautiful, spiritual way. And your songs are spiritual. They're positive, they come from the heart, and they make us all feel good. And the world does need love. Love is the key. And every time I grew up, I'm 66, but your stuff was my stuff. And I turn on the radio all the time and listen to it. It's inspiring, it's uplifting, it's spiritual, and you've really done us all a service throughout this earth. God bless you, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Davis, let me thank you as well. I almost went into music myself, and your music, I can't tell you how many times I've opened sheet music and your name is somewhere on it. It's difficult to play a great song without you having some influence or direct writing of it. And Mr. Koretz asked me when he said you were coming if I would be willing to play the piano to back up the singing this morning, and my apologies. As you could see, we had a little bit of business to attend to for the election of the council presidency, so maybe one day I'll get to still do it. But thank you for enriching my life, inspiring me to be a musician as well, and for the amazing, amazing way you've touched our hearts and our lives. Thank you. Mr. Labange would like to say a few words too.
Great job. What a very special person. Mr. Alarcon, I think there's one song not loved. Johnny get angry, Johnny get mad, giving me the biggest headache I ever had. I want a brave man, I want a, whatever it was, but that was good. But it's so special. Oh, I know. I was singing that for you, Bill. Okay. It's so special that you're here and that you've been part of our life in Los Angeles. You say you move out here, a founding member of the Music Center. A founding member of the Music Center of Los Angeles, which is the roots of many good things. And have Rosalind here, who's a hero to all of us in Los Angeles. She sang at my inauguration 10 days ago, high above the Hollywood Hills. It's just special. But Mr. Koretz, every time I'm listening to K-Earth and they play Tom Jones' What's New Pussycat, I'm going to have to sing you now. Good try there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thought nobody would ever remember Johnny Get Angry.
Right.
I'm glad you did.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lavange.
Thank you.
Right, Mr. Koretz.
And so on behalf of the City of Los Angeles and the City Council, I'd like to make this presentation to Hal David. So there's accommodation from the City Council.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Koretz.
This has been a great pleasure for me, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our next presentation is from Council District 6.
Thank you very much, Madam President and members. I'd like to invite up to join me Dr. Lou Lieberg, and his family and supporters. Dr. Louis, otherwise known as Lou Lieberg, is the Executive Director at UCLA Anderson School of Management and is being honored for over 55 years of service to the information technology industry and for his 33-plus years of outstanding service to the UCLA Anderson Information Service Associates. Dr. Lieberg was born in Kansas in the town of Emporia in 1932, and in 1937, with an old Chevy, $12 and a trailer, his parents moved their family to Fresno and subsequently went to West Los Angeles with hopes of a greater economic opportunity. Dr. Lieberg graduated top of his class from the University High School in West Los Angeles. After graduating from Uni, she still said it wrong. Uni. Yeah, I'm from the Valley. What do I know? He enrolled at UCLA in 1950 and graduated in 1954, where he served as its elected student body president during the 1953-54 academic year. He earned an MBA in the 1960s and from UCLA Anderson School of Management and a PhD in 1971. He has served as Executive Director of the Anderson School's Information Systems Associates Professional Association since 1987. Mr. Lieberg's lifelong passion for the information technology industry began with his 31-year employment with the International Business Machine Corporation, otherwise known as IBM. While working at IBM, Mr. Lieberg served as the first chair of the UCLA IS Associates in 1978. Then in 1987, he became executive director of the IS Associates, where he has served with great distinction for 33 years. Mr. Lieberg's exceptional vision and leadership in co-founding the UCLA IS Associates has been a vibrant component of the UCLA Anderson School of Management's cultivation of the next generation of IT leaders, students, and faculty throughout the nation. Furthermore, revenue generated from the IS Associates assists UCLA Anderson on its commitment to its students and the larger community. His vigilant support of this ongoing network of senior IT executives from corporate and civic organizations. During his career, Mr. Lieberg has received well-deserved commendations from a variety of industry volunteer positions relating to both academia and business, including the International Conference on Information Systems, the Society for Information Management, the Association for Information Systems. Mr. Lieberg's commitment, cooperation, and outstanding work marks him as a tireless performer determined to develop and nurture the evolving technology industry. Mr. Lieberg has earned his place as a beloved colleague, friend, and mentor through his extraordinary gift of gab. Over the years, Dr. Lieberg has earned a reputation as a subject matter expert on a diverse range of subjects where he could tell you everything and anything you would ever want to know, and a bit more, on any given topic. His in-depth knowledge and understanding is so overwhelming that Anderson board members to set their timers during his verbal reports. And also, I'd like to point out one of the reasons why we honor him today in the city of Los Angeles is he's been a mentor to the city of Los Angeles on our IT issues for many, many years, and he'll share with us some of the stories. But it's really important for us to understand that we're honoring somebody who spent many, many years at UCLA as an expert, but somebody who has given his heart and soul to this city. Dr. Lieberg and his wife, Nani, of 55 years, have 4 children. Their eldest child, Lynn, is a UCLA economics grad who works in IT in Portland. Their second child, Karen, is a Berkeley English literature alum who works as a tech writer for Adobe in San Francisco. Their third son, John, a UC Berkeley biology graduate with an MBA in finance from Berkeley, Haas, works in corporate finance in Boulder, Colorado. Their youngest son, Bob, is a UCLA film school grad and a documentary filmmaker and cartoonist who lives in LA. This family certainly knows what the best university in town is. Nani and Dr. Lieberg have 5 wonderful grandchildren and enjoy traveling extensively with their grandchildren throughout the world. Mr. Lieberg has touched the lives of UCLA Anderson students, faculty, alumni, IT professionals, and the broader community with his genuine interest in people, generosity of his time, and his undeniable ability to make everyone feel valued and respected, and has earned Mr. Lieberg his reputation as the consummate gentleman. Ladies and gentlemen, we honor today a wonderful, wonderful, committed person to the community of Los Angeles and beyond, Dr. Louis Lieberg. At this time, I'd like to invite to the podium to say a few words our current head of our IT department, Randy. Can you please say a few words?
I'm very honored today to be standing here with the councilman and Lou. Lou has been a pillar in our IT community for many, many years. He is well respected. He's been, and UCLA has been a great partner of the city of Los Angeles, and even though he's retired, I'm still going to try and pick his brain periodically. So thank you very much for honoring Lou today.
Thank you, Randy.
Dr. Lieberg, please.
Right. My goodness. What a hard bunch of acts to follow this morning. But before, thank you, Councilman Cardenas and Randy, very much for your kind remarks. Behind me are 3 very important people. First of all, Mary Kay Kotzman. Many of you might know Mary Kay. She was Assistant General Manager of ITA some years ago. And next, and I'm sure she had something to do with some of those remarks about timers on me. I'd like to next introduce John Burns, who is my successor as Executive Director of the IS Associates, and my son Bob, that you just heard, is a UCLA alum, and he lives here in Echo Park. So I really appreciate very much all the support and all the kind words. I do want to point out that I can't sing a lick. Sorry about that, Mr. Labange, but what a wonderful experience to my coming up here. Just eloquent remarks by the new president, a fantastic presentation by the Crenshaw Choir, who were nice enough to wear UCLA colors today in my honor. I really appreciate that very much. And then how can you follow a legend? Somebody recently called me a legend. I said, no, I'm not a legend, I'm just old. I did come to West Los Angeles, actually. I hate to correct you, or Mary Kay, from Kansas. We went to Fresno, a little side trip. But I've lived here or worked here in Los Angeles, mostly West Los Angeles, since 1939. So I do feel for the city very much, like a fellow Uni High graduate of mine wrote for you all, I love L.A. I don't know if you know it or not, but Randy is a Uni High guy. Yes. And so I love L.A. And I really enjoyed serving it. The IS Associates are basically a very premier organization of its kind in the country. And although I get a lot of credit for being a co-founder and leading it all these years, it couldn't have possibly achieved what it has achieved without the support of literally hundreds of IT executives and suppliers in the Los Angeles area. We've been going for 33 years, as you heard. We have 40 member organizations, currently, and including most notably the Los Angeles City, and also, I might add, Los Angeles County. We've had over 200 events over the years where we've tried to educate and facilitate networking among all these fine people. A year ago, at one of our sessions dealing with cloud computing, Randy Levin was one of our featured speakers, and a really excellent one. So we've had participation of the city ITA people ever since the early 90s, when the first CIO I worked with, Wendell Meyer, introduced me to Mary Kay Kosman and her wonderful husband, Frank. Mary Kay later served for 2 years, from 1996 to 98, as the chair of our associates. That's a very important position, and has really been very special to us. John Burns, who I introduced as my successor, was also a chair of the associates, and he's very qualified. He has been a chief information officer at 4 different organizations in his time. So I have been surrounded by lots of talent, and I really very much appreciate it very much. This award, which I've had a chance to sneak a look at, talks about the fact that I uplifted the work of Los Angeles area IT professionals. I would like to say that maybe I uplifted it. I hope that's true. But more importantly, they did the work. Thank you so much for your consideration and for the wonderful honor that it is for me to get on this first day of your fiscal year. See, I'm also a finance guy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, I present to you this commendation, Dr. Lieberg, for your wonderful, wonderful service and heartfelt commitment to Los Angeles, and once again, beyond this wonderful city. You are a legend within your industry, and we want to thank you so much for all of your service, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy Randy's calls and everybody else, because they're not going to stop calling on you. You are an expert, you are a leader, and you've given of yourself, and that's never going to change. So thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, sir.
We'll take some pictures in the back. We'll take some pictures.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas, and congratulations. Next presentation comes from Council District 11. Council District 11. Council District 11. Mr. Rosendahl. Okay, well then we're going to go to Council District 12. Granada Hills Academic Decathlon Team. Council District 12. Well, Mr. Rosendahl, we already... all right, we'll go back to... Well, they're up already, Mr. Rosendahl. Come on up, Council District 12.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. He's ready.
Mr. Rosendahl, we had called 12 up, but you can go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President, and congratulations on being reelected as pro tem. This is a timing reality that I think we all need to appreciate. I have a real hero standing with me here, someone that saved a life in the midst of a very hot day. And I want to read it to you, and then you'll get it. We're about, as you heard the weather report this morning, going into a very hot weekend. It's going to be in the 90s, in the hundreds. It's going to be extremely hot for the next 4 or 5 days. Well, we got a hero here, and his name is Steve Rhodes. Where's Steve? Right here, folks. And here's why he's a hero. Steve is the Westchester Bid ambassador and spends most days patrolling Westchester Town Center on his bicycle, providing a comforting environment, assisting shoppers, and giving directions to those who are lost. Karen Dial, who's the president of the bid, and H.B. Dollinger Company championed the ambassador program, which began last summer to provide an added level of safety and to help customers feel more comfortable when shopping in the area. On March 9th, Steve took on a new role as the guardian angel to Peggy Berkey. On her way to a dental appointment, Peggy passed out, slumped over the steering wheel of her Buick in the Bank of America parking lot. By the time Rhodes rode up to investigate, the sun had made the car a sweltering box, and Peggy was having trouble breathing. Rhodes and the bank security guard called 911 and opened the doors and windows to ventilate the car. Following those instructions from the 911 operator, he moved her into a reclining position and tried to cool her off as paramedics arrived. Peggy, still unconscious, was taken to the hospital, where she spent 4 days in the intensive care unit until being released. Peggy now calls Steve her guardian angel. Paramedics said Peggy could have died had she remained in the steaming car much longer. This is just another reason why we support our bids in our city. They do great work and even save lives. A true hero, a very humble spirit. God bless you for what you have done for all of us. And I certainly have a few folks who want to say a couple of words, but I want you to know, Steve, you're going to get from my heart these eggs. KABC interviewed me on something else this morning, and they heard I had chicken, so I told them I do. But you're the man of the hour, and from my heart to your heart, thank you for saving a life, okay? And this will be the official certificate, which we'll take a little photo of. But at this point, I'd like Cedric to come up and explain what the organization is. Don Duckworth is going to come up and talk, too. Go ahead, Don.
Yes, thank you, Council Member, members of the City Council. We're very pleased here today to have Steve Rhodes, who represents our Westchester Town Center Business Improvement District and represents the highest quality of caring, personal service, and standards that is available to our community and the community of Los Angeles as a result of the leadership of our property owners in Westchester. So we're very happy to be here and celebrate Steve's success so that everybody can know how vibrant and revitalized Westchester truly is. Thank you very much.
Bless you, Don. And come on up, Steve, and introduce your family, your father, your wife, your kids.
Absolutely.
Everybody, come on, family. Come on up closer so you can be seen. No, come on. Right in front of this tall fellow there.
First, I'd like to introduce my father, who's Tom Rhodes back here, a retired Navy captain and airline pilot for 38 years as well, and his wife, Carol. And then I have my mother-in-law, Sheila Pedlipsky, over here, my lovely wife, Susie, and then my two sons, Jaron and Jacob Rhodes. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. I'm very humbled. I've never been to this forum before, and I've never actually been to the City Council, so I'm really pleased and honored to be here and to accept this award. And it's really a neat experience to be in these chambers with all of you here. I've seen the proceedings on TV and all that, but I've never actually had an opportunity to be here, and so thank you very much. I'm very humbled.
Advice for this weekend?
Yeah, it's hot, and you know, if this event that I was able to help this woman, Mrs. Berkey, if that in any way draws attention to drawing awareness so others can pay attention, we can all kind of look out for each other. That would be a good piece of advice. Thank you very much. I'd like to also introduce my boss, Cedric Sutherland here. He works for City National Security.
Great.
As Chief Operating Officer of City National Security Services, having a security officer like Steve is a dream come true. The motto for security is observe and report. Well, Steve took it a step further. He observed and he saved a lady's life. I've had the honor of having lunch with Ms. Berkey. She is very grateful, as anyone would be, but be aware of the heat, just like Steve was this weekend. It's going to be really hot, and watch it in the cars and leaving loved ones. But Steve is a true hero, and it's an honor to have him working for City National Security. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you. We're going to go in the back and take some
very
much. Let's go this way.
All right, CD 12.
Thank you, Madam President. Fellow colleagues, I am pleased today to bring the Granada Hills Charter High School Academic Decathlon team to Council. On April 30th, 2011, in Charlotte, North Carolina, Granada Hills Charter High School took first place in the national academic decathlon competition in a crowded field that included the national champions in Texas and Wisconsin. So Texas can try to take our businesses, but they're not taking our academic decathlon champions. Let me tell you that right now. This is their first charter school. This is the very first charter school in the 30-year history of the decathlon to actually capture the national title. And Granada earned 52,113 points out of 60,000, which is almost 1,700 points more than the second-place team. Not only was this the first national academic decathlon title for Granada Hills, it's the very first trip ever to the national championship. 35 state teams and a team from the United Kingdom participated in this year's grueling two-day national competition and test participants on a range of topics from math, science, art, and literature. There are multiple-choice, fast-paced trivia questions, essay speeches, and interview competitions. Academic decathlon teams are made up of A students, 3 B students, and 3 C students who spend countless hours studying and preparing for the competition. This year, their focus and their questions were on the Great Depression, which I think is fitting today. The 9 Granada Hills Charter High School decathletes, along with 3 alternates, spent 10 hours a day studying and sacrificing most of their winter and spring vacations preparing for it. So if you could join me, along with the coaches that I've got here, Nick Weber, Spencer Wolf, and Matt Arnold, along with Maribel De La Torre, their development director, and congratulating our national academic decathlon winners, Granada Hills Charter High School. And would you like to say a few words as well? Okay. Please.
Honorable Vice President Perry and council members, we'd like to thank you for this recognition. On behalf of our executive director, who could not be here today due to a prior engagement, and the entire Granada community, we wish to thank you. We'd also like to thank outgoing Council Member Greg Smith for his 8 years of service on the City Council and 32 years of service to the entire city of Los Angeles, and welcome our newest Council Member, Councilmember Englander, and hope your tenure is as long and successful. And we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you very much. All right. Our academic decathlon champions. I'm going to take you guys around to the back as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you very much. All right, that marks the end of our presentations. Madam Clerk, what is our first item of business?
Madam President, you can either go into general public comment, or the item's called special.
Let's see. Why don't we go to general public comment? All right. Jackie DuPont Walker.
Good morning, Ms. Perry and members of the City Council. I'm pleased to be here today honoring your 44th session. I call your attention to the fact that 4 + 4 is 8. And so I'm here about the business of Council District 8. Often we come down on issues to plead for something that we believe is needed in our community. Today I'm here to say thank you to Councilman Bernard Parks for being a servant leader. On behalf of the 140 residents of Ward Villas, representing 13 cultures, we say thank you for always being there. On behalf of Ward, Amy Church, and Reverend Joseph Nixon, who wish he had been here, we believe that you provide outstanding service, always responding, and when visiting, always staying through the service. But my fondest memories are of your coming on Thanksgiving Day with your wife to serve the seniors of our community, never seeing it robbery. And from all of them and from us, we thank you as you enter this term, and we look forward to a marvelous 4 years.
Thank you very much. Glenn Bailey. Is Glenn Bailey still here? Okay, come on up.
Good morning, council members. This morning I wanted to speak on the issue of cell phone towers in our city parks. On June 15th, the Board of Recreation and Parks Commissioners adopted General Manager's Report number 11-185. And what this motion, this policy of the Recreation and Parks would do would open the door for cellular telecommunication installations within our city parks, which they do have an economic motivation to do so because, according to their report, they're going to get $2,000 to $3,000 per month for each lease in the parks, and I understand that. The problem is there's nothing in this policy that guarantees that there's going to be public notification and public participation in the process to the level of expectation of many of us. And very specifically, when I spoke to the Commission, I advised them that the neighborhood councils have a procedure whereby we refer planning and land use matters to our planning and land use committees, which then make recommendations to the full neighborhood councils. That process, as we deal with the city planning department, is typically a 60-day process, or items that come from your council offices, a 60-day processes. I requested that the Commission amend their policy so that neighborhood councils would be given a minimum of 60 days notification in which to review these proposals and comment back on them. They refused. There was no amendments at all to the report, and they adopted it. So that's the way it's going to be, despite the fact that I've heard that some council member staff has indicated this will come to council. Unless a 245 motion was introduced prior to last Friday, that is the policy of Rec and Park Commission, and that's unfortunate. Thank you.
Mr. Candido Maraz.
Good morning, Madam President. Candido Maraz, proud resident of the 12th District, where I've had the honor and privilege of being represented by some of the finest city councilmen, past President Hal Burnson, and now Councilman Greg Smith, and to you, Mr. Inglinger. We look forward to your service to the district and to this city. I know that you will continue the service to the children of our communities. I met you 9 years ago, and I see your lovely daughters, and we worked the campaign for Greg Smith, and it's just a blessing to see that you young ladies have turned out so wonderful. Other kids haven't. Other kids have struggled. Other kids have had problems, and I hope that you will continue to help us with those who have suffered. So thank you for that leadership. Also to Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Garcetti, these are times for great measures, and I just want to quote to you because I believe we have great people in this area, but to quote Theodore Roosevelt, I care not what others think or what they do, but I care very much about what I think of what I do. That is character, sir. The great Reverend Martin Luther King, and I have repeated this before, the ultimate measure of a man or woman is not what he does in the moments of comfort and convenience, but what he stands for at a time of challenge and controversy. The next 4 years, Mr. President, council members, are we going to have some of the same mistakes, or are we going to have a lot of the successes that we have seen in the past? I've been here for 20 years, and most of the time there have been a lot of, I'm just proud of what you do here. But many times, and sometimes there have been times when I just don't understand why you would stand by and let things happen. So I look forward to the next 4 years, and God bless all of you, and thank you for allowing me to come down here and speak my piece with you all the time. So thank you.
John Camara.
Don't forget the veterans.
Are you John?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. President, council members. I, too, would like to wish you a happy 4th of July. And I am pleading with you to truly represent the people of this great city. Great things can happen with great leaders if they come forth and do the right thing. I know we have great leaders. And here, I know that all things are possible if you, council members, will just do the right thing. So I'm here to ask you to hear the cries of the DWP ratepayers of this great city. No more DWP rate increases. DWP city attorneys must be held accountable. Thank you.
Michael C. Is Michael C. here? Don't know Michael's last name. It says Michael C. All right, no one coming forward by that name, so we will go to Van Nuys for Wayne Spindler.
All right. It's a new day in CD 12, so we have a new councilman, Englander. We welcome him to the fray. You're going to be there for 8 or 12 years unless you run for Congress. But we have a Congress race down in Venice, and that's going to be a special election for the Jane Harmon seat. And our very own Janice Hahn, the pride of San Pedro, is running for that seat, raising over $600,000. And the question you have to have is, why would anybody give her $600,000 to run for a Congress seat when she lost lieutenant governor? What type of promises are being made for that kind of money? Because her opponent, and I urge you to vote for her opponent, his name is Craig Huey.
Madam President, the congressional election is not within the jurisdiction of the city.
Mr. Spindler, if you can keep your topic on city-related issues, I would appreciate it.
Los Angeles, thank you. Do not interrupt. Okay, that Congress district is in the city of Los Angeles. That's why it relates. So I know there's a few people, if they haven't already fell asleep because of all these presentations, minus the singing. The singing was quite entertaining by Koretz, and maybe he has a career in singing. He should get into that instead of being in the council. But you got a chance to send a message. Are you tired of this council and the way they do business? Are you tired of DWP rate hikes? Are you tired of going to a parking meter and having to pay $4 for an hour of parking? Are you tired of the gold parking program where friends get their tickets dismissed and you don't? You are? Vote for Craig Huey for Congress and tell us no on Hahn.
Thank you very much. Back to City Hall for Antonia Ramirez. Antonia Ramirez, and following Ms. Ramirez will be Arnold Sachs, and he is our final speaker for today in the public comment period.
Good morning. This is a matter of principle. I am honored to have been in the presence of military veterans since I was born. Thus, in light of the 4th of July weekend, happy 4th of July to everybody. I want to say thank you to all our pilots and all our military veterans, whether uniformed or ununiformed, active or inactive, and to all our pilots and their respective families. The American tide has finally turned. All eyes are now on our military veterans and all our pilots. They are now the cat's meow. The universe will now restore to you your rightful place and return all that has been sacredly taken away from you. America will now punish all those that provide and employ criminal, illegal aliens and gangbangers. You military veterans and all pilots, along with your respective families, will be fully rewarded for all your blood sacrifices, for all the great causes that you have fought for. For example, First Amendment freedoms and liberties, justice, dignity, honor, respect, integrity, human dignity, and all that you have fought. And again, you have a whirlpool of human dignity. And those who are not military and those who are not pilots could not possibly comprehend. And I refer also to Jan Perry. I'm disappointed in your election because I know you are not fair. I know that. And I don't trust nor believe you. But I am very happy for Ms. President Gil Garcetti because he has elegance, he has exuberance, he has tactfulness, he has politeness, he has eloquence, and he has eloquently mastered the art of speech. And he just knows how and when to interject politely. Politely. That's something, Jan, you don't have. And again, I'd like to say happy birthday, belated birthday to Mayor Kurt Pringle and Vicente Fox. Thank you very much. Happy 4th.
Arnold Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Arnold Sachs.
been a couple of meetings, ad hoc committee meetings. There was one yesterday regarding the stadium to be constructed in downtown LA by AEG. And the latest revelations in the newspapers. First, the discussion, according to AEG, was to build a $1 billion stadium. Now the latest news is we're going to also build 2 parking garages. Then we're also going to maybe build or have built 4 or 5 hotels in the same general vicinity. So what exactly is this project mushrooming it to be? Because who would be responsible for all the infrastructure that goes along with that? The new pipes or for the supplying water and the sewage and the city services that will be involved and the renovations that need to be done. Coincidentally, DWP looking for a rate increase to pay for renovations. That being said, here's a flyer. Have a voice in your water and power rates. But City Council last week was discussing no water and power rate increases until the ratepayer advocate is installed. So why is DWP having hearings before City Council has put into office or set in motion the ratepayer advocate? Because then they'll have to have more hearings. And finally, I believe there was some controversy again from the auditor's department regarding cell phones. And I bring this up because of an incident that occurred at the LAX. According to the newspaper reports, the person was using a city-issued cell phone, but LAX has its own cell phone provider, and they can't retrieve the records from the cell phone. But it's a city-issued cell phone. How can a city-issued cell phone have a different provider? Or how does that work? Maybe you could clarify that for the rest of the public. Pull my finger.
Thank you. All right, that marks the end of our public comment period. Madam Clerk, what is our first item?
Madam President, I believe there's a request by Mr. Zine to reconsider item 11 and a request to reconsider item 15 by Mr. Koretz.
Mr. Zine? You still want to reconsider item 11?
If we could please reconsider number 11.
All right, there's a motion to reconsider item 11. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
All right, item 11 is now before us.
Thank you. Madam President, the City Attorney's Office, regarding number 11, this deals with a situation that took place on a city housing project where family members were living in this affordable residence at a much reduced rate. And the question to the City Attorney's Office, we want to make sure that, and this did pass committee, we hopefully will support this, but a question came up regarding the legality regarding the fair housing laws. And we want to make a policy for all new affordable projects that this can apply to all affordable housing projects that receive city funding. In other words, if it's an affordable housing project, the nepotism would not be permitted, such as a son or a daughter who would be able to live there if that individual who was the developer received city funds to build that project. And a question came up about the legality on the housing laws, Mr. City Attorney. And if you say okay, then we'll pass it, and I just want to make that clarification.
Are you asking us to research that issue regarding the legality?
The question was raised regarding the situation. That's why I bring it to make sure that we're on solid grounds to avoid any kind of litigation. And basically what it does excludes the family members of affordable housing developers, board members, managers, etc. Does that violate the fair housing laws? And if it does not, then we would request approval as approved in committee.
As the agenda reads, it's instructing the LAHD with the assistance of the city attorney to report on, and we would assist the LAHD in reporting on that.
Okay. And that's the only question that came up regarding the legality because of federal housing laws, et cetera.
We will research that.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have on number 11. That's all I have on number 11.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's open the roll on 11. Oh, sorry. Press your button, Mr. Cardenas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Zine, for bringing this to light and making sure that we tighten up what happens here and the regulations and requirements with the City of Los Angeles. We would hate for such an embarrassing incident to occur again, and I think that there are ways in which we can curtail that based on the rules and regulations that we can impose. But one of the things that I think it's important is that not only that we have rules and regulations regarding restrictions regarding relatives of decision makers, et cetera. I think that equally important isn't just about restricting, but actually disclosing. I think that's something that's very, very important. I think that the public, what they ask of us all the time is, we at least want to know what's going on. And there are rules and regulations, but beyond having rules and regulations of what you can or can't do, I think that's important that people understand that disclosure is equally important. And along with this, I hope that involved in this, the language, when it's finalized, is looking into our ethics department, if they should be involved with requiring disclosure, and or any other department within the city and the housing department requiring some kind of disclosure for the record. Again, it's not just about what people can or can't do, it's about what they shouldn't be doing, and if they are doing that, just let everybody know. Okay? Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cardenas. Madam Clerk, please open the roll on that item, then close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Next item.
Madam President, I believe there was a request by Mr. Koretz to reconsider item 15.
All right. I'm sorry. Repeat again, please.
A request to reconsider item 15 by Mr.
Yes,
Koretz.
open the roll on Mr. Koretz's request to reopen item 15, then close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
All right, Mr. Koretz, 15 is before us now.
Yes, we'd like to refer this back to committee for further work.
All right, I think we can do that without objection, can we not, Madam Clerk? All right, great. 15 is referred back to committee. Next item.
Item 19, call special for cards.
Okay. Glenn Bailey and Candido Meraz for item 19.
Good morning again. This is regarding a amount of money, $13,446 associated with the West Los Angeles Neighborhood Council. And the reason I'm speaking today has nothing to do with a particular neighborhood council. It has to do with the process. And the process is that this motion was introduced last week. It involves a unknown detail of how a neighborhood council could have spent more money or not than it has. I looked at the minutes of the West Los Angeles Neighborhood Council, and there's no explanation in the minutes, but apparently this goes back to 2008. We don't know if this is a fault of the Neighborhood Council, of the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, or what, but it just on its face, it doesn't look like the money should come from the pot of the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, or for that matter, monies that would otherwise benefit all neighborhood councils. But so on the process, I think that this should be referred to the Education and Neighborhoods Committee, Councilman Kokorian's committee, and that there should be a report from the department. Right now, all we have is a council motion, with all due respect, Mr. Rosendahl. There is no report from the department. And I think this is a bad precedent to start with 95 neighborhood councils. If any one of them overspends its money, or the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment doesn't keep track of the money or whatever, I think this is a bad precedent to start individual motions with individual neighborhood councils without any backup documentation, report from the department, and frankly without a public airing at a level short of this council. And so that's my suggestion. Thank you.
Mr. Meraz.
Thank you, Madam President. Candido Meraz, Van Nuys Neighborhood Council. Along with me is John Camara, Van Nuys Neighborhood Council, and Mr. Roland Guevara, Van Nuys Neighborhood Council. But first of all, we want to, this is a great country when someone can come here and just spew whatever they want and criticize, and that's the greatness of this country. But I want to stand here today as a Republican, as an Abraham Lincoln Republican, not one of the other ones, but someone who was of the people, by the people, and for the people, and say that Ms. Hahn is the best choice for Congress. And this city needs federal funding for neighborhood councils, for neighborhood, just for all the things. We've lost so much money in the last 10 years, and Ms. Hahn is going to bring back that funding that we've lost. And with that, Mr. President, council members, neighborhood councils need to be held more accountable. We're not doing we're trying to do a good job, but in some areas we're failing. And again, I hope that we can work this situation out. It's not about your council, it's about all neighborhood councils. We all have to stand up and do our part to work together to solve the issues within the city. Thank you, Mr. President, Councilmember.
Mr. Rosendahl.
Mr. President, and Mr. Bailey, I totally agree with you about transparency and clarity on absolutely everything we do. That is something I believe in and live by in my entire political life and my other public lives that I've lived in my 66 years. This is purely an accounting error by the department. That was admitted and acknowledged to me was a communications problem on their part with the neighborhood council. These were legitimate expenses in 2008. You're right, it was 2008. And the neighborhood council followed the instructions that were given them by the staff of that Dunn organization. In my involvement in it, which just came most recently when the neighborhood council clearly pointed out what had happened. I talked to the general manager of Dunn, and it was clear that there was a communications problem from his staff to the neighborhood council. Had nothing to do with the neighborhood council. It was clearly an administrative communication problem from Dunn. That's why we put it out here. There was absolutely clarity on this as we went through the process right here in the council. So I appreciate what you said, but colleagues, I'd like to just move forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, let's go ahead and take a vote on this item. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Thank you. Next item.
Item 21, call special for cards.
Okay, item 21 is next. We have a card from Arnold Sachs. I'd like to come forward as our first speaker. And Mr. Sachs will be followed by Antonio Ramirez on funding the Los Angeles Homeless Service Authority.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. I was looking at this item, and I was really taken by this account G355 LASA, Assistance to the Homeless Families on Skid Row, for $582. And I'm thinking, $582 for families on Skid Row. This is a program put out by LASA that I picked up at a county government meeting. You can bet that to print this program for LASA probably cost more than $582. And by the way, what the hell can you do with $582 for a family on Skid Row?
Sorry, sir, that's the housing department. I'll save your time. But
this is LAHSA. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're two different agencies, just so you know. That one is the housing department, and the Homeless Services Authority is what we're talking about here today.
Excuse me. But nevertheless, when this would have appeared on an agenda, how much money would have been spent on that? Thank you.
Thank you. Antonio Ramirez is our next speaker.
Okay. Again, besides having a homeless blight, we're compounded with problems with an added burden of placing all our military veterans, all our pilots and their families, also in a homeless plight. For the love of the universe, I can't believe that we have deliberately and unconscionably provided for all criminal, illegal aliens and gangbangers with all social services, civic and federal funds, i.e. welfare and all health insurances and added perks, but miserably failed to provide any housing, health insurance, welfare funds, and added perks to all our military veterans, our pilots, and their respective families. Therefore, we must now take a corrective action and first and foremost provide them, our military and all our pilots, with aesthetically beautiful housing, toxic-free and safe, thriving housing, and all the other perks and benefits. Some do not have the legal connections, but it is, in my opinion, first priority for all council members and staff members to accommodate our military veterans and their families and all our pilots, or we will give you the royal boot out. And so with that, happy 4th of July. Jesus, I love polite people. Thank you,
so much.
President
Appreciate it. That will close our public comments on this item. Anybody wishing to speak from the council? If not, let's go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
All right, that is approved. Next item called special, please.
Item 24, call special for cards.
All right, item 24 is next. Our first speaker is Arnold Sachs again.
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs. Coliseum funds for the fireworks. Well, I have no object with the fireworks, but with the news that's come out of the Coliseum regarding the related projects that the general manager, one of the managers who just got released from his position, had been involved in, how he created his own set of corporations to funnel the request made of him into his corporation so that they could turn around and get the money. I just hope that, well, I shouldn't have to hope because we know how open and transparent everybody here is around City Council, that somebody here would ask for some real accounting with the Coliseum Commission and what's going on in that jungle of, or that bastion of openness and transparency, especially regarding with funds, because we hear how poorly they're doing as far as funding for projects is concerned.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Antonio Ramirez.
Again, thank you very much. Relative to the funding for the Los Angeles Coliseum July 4th fireworks show, I am asking that we allow all our military veterans, whether active or inactive, uniformed or ununiformed, and all our pilots and their families to enter all 4th of July celebrations, events, and any kind of celebrations. Enter free, no charge to any of them whatsoever, and all other events for the rest of the year. Hey, I think that's a good deal, and it's a good thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That'll close our public comments on item 24. Let's prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. If we can take up 25 and 27 now. Mr. Sachs, if you'd like to come forward on those two items.
Excuse me, Mr. President, you want me to do both of them at the same time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
we'll make
25, sure. This just concerns me because of the pass-through, the number of pass-throughs. This is the Board of Public Works accepting $350,000 from the CRA to be deposited in the office, or to be deposited for the Office of Community Beautification for the South of the Santa Monica Freeway Clean and Safe program. So especially due to the fact that you had on previous item on your agenda an account that had $582 into it, is there a clean and safe program for the north of the Santa Monica Freeway? Would there be a clean and safe program for the east side of the 110 freeway? Would there be a clean and safe program for the west side of the 110 freeway? And why can't the CRA spend this money and do the work itself? Why the pass-throughs to the Department of Public Works? Why, or the Board of Public Works? And why, and who, and how many people are in the Office of Community Beautification for the South of Santa Monica Freeway Clean and Safe program? That being said, item 27 is an item on your agenda, Eat Local, Buy California Grown. I'm still waiting to see some kind of message come from the council regarding Eat Local, Buy California Grown, use food stamps at farmers markets. As of today, you're still not allowed to use food stamps at the farmers markets throughout the city of LA, throughout the county of LA. But the people who do this new program for California with the food stamp want you to eat local, want you to eat healthy, want to eliminate all kinds of foods that are causing obesity. And one way to do that would be having people allowed to use their food stamps at farmers market. So maybe the council members could get together and request something happen with California legislation other than asking for public ownership of the Dodgers.
Thank you. That will close our public comment on 25 and 27. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. All right. If Ms. Perry or Mr. Rosano, would you mind taking the chair? I called item 30 special and just wanted to say a few words on that as well. If we can. And we do have, I know, a couple cards. Mr. Tobin, if you'd like to come forward on item 30. Thanks. There we go.
Good afternoon. My name is Gary Tobin. I'm president of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, and I want to address the importance of the Office of Economic Analysis and thank you for your support. First of all, Council President Garcetti, congratulations on your reelection. And Mitch Englander, he's somewhere right there. Congratulations on your first day. We appreciate very much the business community, your understanding the importance and the possibilities of the Office of Economic Analysis, and the fact that it gives you an opportunity to look at legislation and say, how will it impact the ability to create jobs in our community? So thank you very much for your assistance. Council President, we want to thank your staff. We want to thank Marcel and Sarah for their good work. We appreciate that. We want to thank the CAO and the CLA's office for their assistance in defining the parameters. We know our work isn't done. We know this is just a pilot, but we're committed to working with you to make this a long-standing investment in the city of Los Angeles. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tobin. Arnold Sachs is our next speaker, and following Mr. Sachs, we will then go to Van Nuys to Wayne Spindler.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Arnold Sachs again. You know, in the opening remarks you gave when you were after your election, Mr. President, you mentioned that you had 3 council members here that have been sitting here for 10 years, and there's other councilmen that have been here 4, 6, 8 years, and yet still now we're looking for analysts for economic development in the city of LA. Why the slow train when almost 90% of the people sitting around this horseshoe have been sitting through this crisis for at least the last 4 or 6 years with the programs? We had the 12-2, we have the wannabe, again, Mayor Buettner, who has his own special agenda that's nobody knows. The information is not available to the public. Why so long? Why the waiting?
Thank you very much. We'll go to Van Nuys now for Wayne Spindler.
For Congress. Okay, now, economic development. You ever heard of the Pew Research Group? The Wall Street Journal? The UN Commission on Economic Development? How about Dow Jones, Inc.? You can go on any laptop. I can take a 6th grade student, put them on a laptop, and research anything. For example, football stadium. How do you build a football stadium? Well, the first thing is that you have to do an economic analysis. You don't need an Office of Economic Analysis for the city of Los Angeles because we know what the problem is in LA. Why is there such high unemployment? And the reason is because you have a city with incredibly high taxes, incredible amounts of corruption, and no opportunity for small business people to open a business and survive in this city with this economic climate and this political climate. So you're just going to have another set of people writing reports, and what's going to happen is that in the end they're going to come up with the same analysis 2, 3 years, 4 years later that I'm telling you right now. You want economic development, get rid of the CRA, but you're not going to do it. Lower the sales tax, you're not going to do it. Don't allow Carmen Trutanich to draft that ordinance giving the liability of sidewalks to homeowners. Again, you won't do it. And as a result, businesses are going to say no to Los Angeles, no to LA County, and yes to Ventura County, yes to Orange County, or not California at all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Garcetti?
Very much, Madam President. Thank you to the LA Chamber of Commerce, who's really been such a critical partner. Gary, Beverly, the entire staff that's been working on making sure that we get this going. Contrary, if folks are tuning in for the first time, to anybody who might have listened to a couple of the public comments, this is actually something new, and it's not an analysis of our economic depression. It is an idea that came about looking at how we can, just as we do with fiscal analysis on anything we vote for, also have an impartial third-party kind of panel of economists that analyze, before we vote on something, what is the estimated economic impact, positive or negative, of policies that we adopt around here. San Francisco did this. It's been a great success up there. Other places have done it. But just as we talked about, precisely for things like proposed convention center expansion and possible stadium deal, we'd love to have economists who also look at this and say, okay, there's projections coming from the folks who propose this, but here's what we think the truth of the matter may be as well. When we look at trying to boost our hospitality industry, or we look at trying to locate green jobs here, we have limited money to spend, and we have an obligation to make sure it's spent on those policies and programs that will generate jobs. The intersection between the economy, city government, and jobs is as complex as it is vital. And so this is on us, and I'm very proud to have created this, but also and personally funded this from the Council District 13 funds. One day I hope that this will be citywide, but it's available for all council districts. We just felt about it so strongly that we use funds that were under our control to get it going. This provides specialized, independent policy research so that we can create jobs and create economic growth as efficiently and effectively as possible. So this office will help make sure that our efforts to reform the business tax system, incentivize hiring, cut red tape, and realize the best bang for the buck happens in this horseshoe. As I mentioned, Los Angeles Chamber and others from the business community played a very vital role in creating this. And to them, I think, if I can speak for them a moment, it represents a commitment to a simple policy agenda, one that improves the business climate, that helps expand and create jobs. And by finalizing the roster of analysts today, which is the action we're taking, we're sending a message that Los Angeles is open for business and that our path forward will be a strategic one. That votes we take, sorry, shouldn't have nuts before you speak, that our path forward will be one that is informed, that has analysis, and that won't be a guessing game. The key to moving our city forward and out of these tough times into a brighter future is going to be our commitment to competitiveness, innovation, and job creation. We must win that future here in Los Angeles. We must prove who we are and have always been, the most competitive, dynamic business environment that we can reclaim once again. Thank you, and I ask for your vote.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Garcetti. There are no additional speakers in the queue. Would you please open the roll, Madam Clerk?
Excuse me, Madam President. There are 2 reports on the file. Is there a motion to move either one?
Budget Finance report, Mr. Parks had moved earlier.
All right, this is open the roll on moving the Budget and Finance report. Close the roll and then tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
All right. Next item, is that our final item?
Yes, Madam Clerk. At this time, you may wish to recess the regular and convene the special meeting.
Yes, let's do that.
So there's some kind of special.
Recessing the regular meeting and going into the special meeting.
Okay. Alarcon, Cardenas, Englander, Hahn, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti, 13 members present, and a quorum, Madam President.
All right. What is our first item?
Items 31 through 33 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
31 through 33? All right. I have a card for Van Nuys, Wayne Spindler on 31. Can we take them up all at once? Yes, Mr. Labange.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to take them all.
Okay.
32 or 33, Mr. Parks?
Yeah. Hey, Mark.
Okay. We're going to take 31 up first. There's a card on 31, Wayne Spindler and Van Nuys.
Okay. On 31, I'll pass at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Spindler passes on 31, and there are no speakers in the queue on 31, so please open the roll, close the roll. All items are going forthwith today. Yes, yes. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
All right, Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 32, I believe there's cards on item 32.
All right, item 2 is before us, and we will go back to Van Nuys for Wayne Spindler. On item 32, Wayne Spindler. Mr. Spindler, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
All right, you're up.
Okay, I'm not clear which item is it.
We're on item 32 now.
Yeah, what's it entitled?
2011 through 2012 budget.
Okay. Yeah, that's what okay. Yes, the budget at this time appears to be passed and balanced, but the problem we're going to have is the budget in Sacramento and how it relates to the Los Angeles City budget and the LA County budget. There are many assumptions of higher tax revenues. Today, on July 1st, we have a tax cut. 1% less tax rate on the sales tax. So today, the sales tax should be 8.75%, down from 9.75%. So check your receipts in case anybody's charging you 9.75%. The card tax has been reduced greatly, almost in half from where it was yesterday. Translation, this is going to be lower revenues coming into the state, also to the cities and the counties. So the budget should allow a rainy day fund to account for this lost revenue. How much projected is this lost revenue going to be? Well, I haven't heard a report on that. But if you're passing your budget with the figures that were accurate as of yesterday, you're assuming a 9.75 on the sales tax and a 1.6 on the car tax. So you could be down another 3-4%. So you should take the budget coming up for this current fiscal year and add another 3-4%, or about another $200 million in a special reserve fund to cover what I believe will be an anticipated shortfall, or you'll be closing more of those fire stations. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. There's no speakers in the queue on this item, so Madam Clerk, why, are you waving your hand for a reason? We don't, let's see if I have a card in. I don't think we have a card in here for him. Let's see. Okay. All right, there it is. It was misfiled. Mr. Sachs, please come forward.
Thank you. The last minute of the last hour, the last second, and you're talking about 8 employees, and I'm sorry if people are losing their positions, out of a city staff of over 45,000 employees. 8 employees here. Now it says here, relative to the feasibility of maintaining the 311 call center's current hours of operation, following a reduction of 8 filled positions that will be eliminated as of July 1st. So what is the feasibility of maintaining those hours? Is that anywhere in this information that the public can be aware of? I know you can go online and find it out, but don't you think the public should be allowed to find that out in this information? I mean, again, if you can print the minutia regarding an account of $582 on your agenda, why not do something important and say we will have to reduce hours, or we can maintain the hours either way if we eliminate these positions? And by the way, it's interesting that LAWA just started its new volunteer program after eliminating Traveler's Aid, which was a volunteer program run by volunteers. Now the new travel aid program is being run by 2 city employees who were transferred during last year's layoffs and maneuvering. So you save those 2 jobs, you cut 8 positions here for 311, which is a program that's beneficial to all the city residents. It's tough to pick and choose, but thankfully you eliminated the volunteers at LAWA to bring in to keep 2
Thank
city.
you very much, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Labange.
Members, I brought this up the other day. We continued it today. Mr. Cardis' committee heard this. I know Mr. Cardis is in consulting with Mr. Parks. But basically, here's the situation. I'd like to ask the representative for ITA to take the center table. Is Mark, he was just here? Mark, you're called to the center table. Mr. Cardis, this is the issue that I spoke of. Mark's going to speak for ITA. Mark, give him help. That's what you said?
They heard me on the microphone, too. You know about this? The call center?
Yes.
I know. That's okay.
Good afternoon, council members. Mark Wolf, Executive Officer with ITA. In response to Councilman Labange's motion, ITA has been working diligently to see if it's feasible to extend the hours of 311 beyond the 8 to 5 p.m. schedule that was adopted by this body as part of the 2011-2012 budget. This resulted in elimination of 8 filled positions in 311. We've been trying to continue to provide 311 services to city departments and to the public with reduced funding that's been imposed on our department over the past few years. We care very much about our employees and 311 services that we provide to the citizens of our city. Recently, ITA has been working with the Bureau of Sanitation and other departments to see if we can come up with a creative way to extend 311's business hours beyond 5 p.m. in this new fiscal year. We've considered options like offloading calls directly to departments like sanitation during business hours and using telephone menu technology. And although this option would provide some relief, the call wait time for 311 would still be estimated to rise from 2.5 minutes to just under 4 minutes, and we would expect that this would be unacceptable for the public. Respectfully, as a result, we cannot recommend this option, but we've come up with a few other options that would allow us to extend 311's operating hours, but each would have a fiscal impact. The first option would be to keep the call center open through 8 p.m. at a cost of $300,000. The second option is to extend the call center hours through 10 p.m. at a cost of $500,000. ITA would like to comply with the desires of this body, but does not want to jeopardize or cripple 311 services to the public. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Members, I think we should ask ITA to get a small swing shift to run to 8 o'clock at night, Monday through Thursday. How many people get home, want to call, think about calling, don't? And they could say 80% of the calls come before 5, but post 5, that other 20% is 186,000 people who call 311. Thanks to Mr. Krikorian, who I do miss. I know this is our first meeting, but the department has implemented a 311 losangeles.com to spruce up our ability to make inquiries through a 311 system. But I'm just asking, we're the Council of Los Angeles, and they're making this very drastic change. I talked about this during the budget hearing. We tried to get this done. It was in committee. I'll hear probably from Mr. Cardis, but I think we should require the department to come up with a small swing shift for 4 days a week and see how it plays out. Because if we don't answer the phone, that becomes a problem as far as dropping it. But we absolutely, when we shut at 5, I don't know how that represents it. And then who calls? Who answers the phone at 2 in the morning when they want to get in touch with Los Angeles? Who gets those phone calls?
Councilman, today the way we have it set up, when we change from a 24/7 operation to our current hours of operation, which is now open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. in this last fiscal year, during off-business hours we set up a phone menu message like an IVR, like when you call your bank or you call your doctor, and it steps you through different options that you have available. And what we've done is for those off hours, we set up for the critical services like transferring to Ask LAPD, transferring to water and power services, or for like pole knockdowns and so forth, to pass those off so that those those more critical types of services can be handled during off hours.
I'll push my button again. Thank you.
Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you. Question to Information Technology Department. You're responsible for 311? Your department is?
Yes, we are, Councilman.
Okay. Was it your idea to cut the hours for our 311? Because before it was 24/7 at one point in time, correct?
Correct.
Was it the department's policy decision to cut the 311 down to the hours that they are now?
No, it was not. It was part of each of the adopted budgets for the last 2 fiscal years.
Okay. Do you adopt your budget, or is it the City Council that adopts that budget?
It's this body that adopts the budget.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that, because Councilmember Labange, I applaud your willingness to want to try to figure out how we can increase the service to the public when it comes to 311. They did become accustomed to being able to call that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Unfortunately, because we cut the budget of the department, they've had to come back with pared down and pared down and pared down hours that they can provide service to our constituents. So the only question I have to the department, Councilmember Labange, and to you and to the rest of this body, I think the real question to the department today is, based on the hours that Councilmember Labange would like it to be increased, what would that cost be for the department to provide those hours of service? And once the department determines what those hours of what that cost would be, we send it to the budget committee and the appropriate policy committee, and we vet that out in the committees, and hopefully as soon as in the next week or two or what have you, as quickly as possible. And then we actually question the department how they came up with those numbers, so they can show us how they came up with those numbers. Maybe we can scrub those numbers and come up with a number that is the actual number it would take of dollars for us to provide that service. And once that happens, then this body would need to decide, where are we going to get the money from? Can we identify that money? And then once we do that, it'll take a vote of this council to decide if we're going to dedicate that money. It's as simple as that. The problem that I have with us as policymakers is we think of our departments like we did 10 years ago. 10 years ago, departments had enough flexibility in their budgets to where they could actually shift their priorities a little bit here and a little bit there, rob Peter to pay Paul, and at the end of the year, we rendered tremendous service to our constituents, and the budgets came out okay. The problem that we have today is every single one of our departments, and specifically the IT department, has been cut. How much have you been cut over the last 4 years total?
We've dropped over 35%. We've gone from 700 employees just 18 months ago now down to about 500.
Exactly. And so you've lost 35% of your revenue that's budgeted by this body. And did we cut your responsibilities by 35%?
No.
Not even close. As a matter of fact, I think your responsibilities are probably 90+% what they were before we started cutting you, and we've cut you so deeply that you are now without 35% of what we afforded you just 3-4 years ago. So my point is, let's be honest with our departments, this and any department. When we come up with a brilliant policy idea, we need to make sure that we, as the budgeting body, actually budget the department appropriately, and they'll do as we ask, correct? If we gave you the funds necessary to increase the hours, would you do so immediately?
We would love to.
If we gave you the money, would you do it? If you identified the money, we scrubbed those numbers, we agreed on that number, and we gave you the money, would you do it as soon as possible?
Yes.
But until we give you the money, can you do it now?
Not without great reservation.
It's not great reservation. You're being too kind. The bottom line is this. The only way you can do it right now is you're going to have to take away from some other service that we already told you to take care of. You're going to have to cut it from another service in order to render this service, which is a fine idea, and that's the problem right now. You need to be a little bit more forthright with us and tell us, sure, If we need another $150,000, $200,000, we'll have to take it from somewhere else, some other service that we're rendering in order to increase those hours. It's as simple as that. We need to fund the money. I'm sure you'll do it. If we don't fund the money, we can't ask them to do something that we haven't provided the resources to do so.
Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to kind of go over it. And I think when we looked at this during the budget hearings, you advised us of your budget cuts and a variety of things. And it was a choice made between stretching the existing people without new resources or putting more money into the budget. And could you just kind of go over again, what do you perceive will occur if you stretch the existing resources?
Let me just back up 1 second and give you kind of a thumbnail just so you understand the staffing levels over the last 3 years or last 4 years for 311. We had over 60 staff in the 311 call center 4 years ago. We have over the last 3 fiscal years been reduced in staffing in 311, where now, as of starting today, this fiscal year, we have only 37 positions that are funded for 311. And as a result, we have modified the hours. The hours have been modified to the current hours that were adopted in this budget of 8 to 5 p.m. In looking at the call wait time, meaning the amount of time that citizens, when they call 311, are on hold, prior to the significant reductions, we had a wait time of just under 1 minute, which for call center best practices is a very acceptable rate for a wait time. With the current staffing level that we had last fiscal year, prior to the reduction of these 8 positions, our call wait time jumped to 2.5 minutes. And I'm sure all of you can attest to, you have received calls from constituents complaining about the wait time when they call 311, that it's at an unacceptable rate. And 2.5 minutes is the average wait time. During our peak times, it's over 5 minutes. Based on the numbers of staffing with the reduction of 8 staff, we now project that we would be over 4 minutes as an average wait time, meaning that the peak wait time would go up to probably about 10 minutes. Okay. And all of us from our own experiences, I think, can say that when we call centers, whether it be your bank, whether you're calling the phone company, etc., it is a very unacceptable wait time to be on hold for a lengthy period.
And what did you project that the drop rate would go to?
We projected right now, prior to the reduction of the 8 positions, we have a 17% of the callers hang up because they don't want to wait. We would anticipate that that would jump to over 26% with maintaining our existing staffing level but extending the business hours.
And we have no way of determining if they drop, they call back?
We have no way of determining that. That's correct.
Okay. And then your department also is the one that also is looking at going out to contract for much of your IT service?
For infrastructure type services, we're trying to see for running servers and so forth, things that are today more like commodity type services. We're looking to see what types of opportunities there are for doing multi-sourcing.
Okay. So as far as looking at your budget, are there resources that you could transfer or apply to this operation that are going unused in other parts?
I would say, Councilman, we don't have enough information yet to make that determination. We do know that because of the reduction of 200 positions from our budget already, that most of the cost savings for doing multi-sourcing has already been taken out of the budget. So we don't have additional money that we would anticipate that necessarily would become available for things like this.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. LaBonge.
Members, I just say if I have a team and I only have 37 members on the team, I try to figure a way to win with that team. And I know it'd be nice if we had more money, but the people we serve, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., also the city staff. Who does the city staff call? The emergency people who, not fire, but public works. Who do they talk to? Because your radio rooms are in there. There's a call center for sanitation, correct? They took some of these positions from you, correct?
Yes, actually, all of the positions, the 8 positions that are eliminated starting today from our budget, One has transferred, they've all transferred to special funded departments. One went to airports, and the other 7 are anticipated to go to sanitation, but it's all contingent upon solidifying what our plan is for our hours. So as of today, we still have the
but let me
7
just ask you,
positions
Mark,
on our payroll.
let's say if you run in a council office and you say, look, we want to serve the people. I got 37 council aides. Could we find some who could work a swing shift? 4 of you, 5 of you, just to see what goes. Because I just think we've built up 311 big time, and now we're shutting it off at 5 o'clock. What happens when we shut it off? We're only open to 7 to 9. Do we give people options? And I like the mayor, but I get the mayor makes a speech, then he plays music from the opera, which some people may not like. I don't know if we should give a menu of how you could connect to you through 311.com. I know Alex is here, Alou, from our Sanitation Bureau. Give us a little of your thoughts.
Good morning, council members. Alex Halou for the Bureau of Sanitation. I'd like to start with some good news. Actually, this came out from the field. Our staff started collection of the white baskets.
Good job.
So we're collecting them, and we dropping also some new baskets on locations we have determined the need.
Thank you.
And I think Mark might have mentioned this. The Bureau of Sanitation on Wednesday, with accepting of the white baskets, we have saved the general fund close to $1 million.
And this is on the 311 call center.
On the 311, we have 7 positions that be coming to the Bureau of Sanitation. Those 7 positions also will cost the Bureau over $1 million in special funds. I think we trying to absorb as much as we can, but we have financial limits how much we can go.
I got that, and a lot of the calls are sanitation missed pickup, et cetera, on that issue. Members, I would just ask if and I don't know how in our budget, Mr. Parks, do we red flag CLA and CAO? This service is going to change because often, Mark, you look for how can you? And I've talked to people at 311. I call 311. There's a belief that there could be a small swing shift that could help at least connect to City Hall. I just asked for a 90-day experiment to see if you could create a swing shift, just to see. Because once we stop being able to take the calls, it breaks that. And I don't know if everybody hangs on too long. I don't know if everybody likes the opera, and no offense to the opera, but it sometimes is or the string quartet. Maybe they like Chuck Berry a little better or someone else who's singing about L.A. than what you play. Or a menu of what you could do through a computer system to let your concern be there. I just think when we shut it at 5 o'clock, we lose it.
Thank you, Mr.
And wait a second, Mr. Zine. And what if we have a situation where on Saturday and Sunday we close earlier or start later and try to save those hours and apply them to after the swing shift for the 4 nights that I speak of, Monday through Thursday?
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas?
Once again, I agree with Councilmember Labonge that we should try to figure out how to provide more services for our constituents. But at the same time, I don't think it's appropriate or fair that we ask a department to do something if, in fact, they've already told us that they don't have the resources to implement it. So even if there's a 90-day trial test, we should allow the department to tell us, is it $12,000 more a year that it would cost? Is it $100,000 more to do it for 90 days or $50,000 or whatever it is? We need to ask the department or give them an opportunity to give us the number, and if they can get us the number as quickly as possible, then we could decide as a body, if we give them the money and we agree with that amount, then they can do a 90-day or 120-day or whatever it is. But the bottom line is, I think the real issue, council members, isn't the will to give our constituents more 311 service. I think the real issue right here is allowing the department to identify what that figure is. CLA, CAO, as they normally do, would scrub the numbers and tell us what number they agree or don't agree with. And then if we agree to give them that money, then we can go ahead and mandate that they do it. And I'm sure if we mandate them to do it, they'll do it. But we need to give them the opportunity to tell us what that number is. I don't disagree that we shouldn't increase the hours for 90 days or even for the upcoming year. What I do want to make it very clear is, regardless of what we do today, we need to make sure that we're being fair and honest with our constituents, with the department, with the taxpayers, and making sure that if we're willing to dedicate that money, let's dedicate it. If we don't identify the money to dedicate, then 311 is going to have to continue as we budgeted them, as was said earlier, effective today. They have their marching orders, they have their budget, and these are the hours that they've been budgeted for. So I just want to make it clear that's what's before us. Yes.
Councilman, if I could make 2 points. To Councilman Labange, to your earlier point about looking at different creative solutions for still providing a service to the public, we have been investigating technology solutions that would allow the public to do more self-service during our off-business hours. And in fact, we're right now in the process of putting together a project where we're in discussions with the Bureau of Sanitation on how we could start and do a pilot to be able to do exactly what you're saying. And in addition, based on actually earlier conversations that I had with you, we've actually put in place for 311 an email system so that during off hours, again, another method of service could be via email. So we're definitely taking a look at technology solutions that will help us optimize as well.
Thank you, and thank you for being responsible with the tax dollar. Every time you find efficiencies, that saves money, we render more service. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Back to Mr. Labange for the third time.
Mr. Parks has a question.
Mr. Parks for the fourth time.
Yes. Is that in place now?
That is in place as of
Could you
today.
tell the public what that is?
311.labangeisthebest.losangeles. Here's your complaint.
The public can go to lacity.org and click on 311, and they will be allowed to then submit service requests to the city through that email address. So that we then take those into our 311 call center and process those.
24 hours a day?
24 hours a day, yes.
Yeah, I got that. Thank you very much, Janice. Here's the situation. I'm going to work with the VOC to draft a motion to look at all call centers. Mr. Cardenas, look forward to working with you, try to find options for this. And I appreciate that. I just think there's ways we could find to always try to serve the public in any which way possible, understanding the times we're in. So thank you for this discussion, but we'll talk about it. And also, how many call centers are there in the city? I still got a little more time, Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. Labange.
How many call centers are there?
There's over a half dozen.
Yeah, but you have a call center, LAPD has a call center.
Sanitation has a call center.
Water and Power has a call center. Street services. So all these things that we can look maybe for efficiency. I'm just trying to put a plug in for you, Mr. Zine, Mr. Efficiency.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. I appreciate efficiency. And as we're efficient, let's take the vote on this matter. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Efficiently completed. Let's go to the next item, please.
At 33, I believe there's cards on that item.
Oh, there are cards on which item?
33.
33. 33. We have, well, I don't have any cards. If there's cards, I don't have. Wait a second, here's a card. In the Valley, Wayne Spindler, 33. Mr. Spindler, in the San Fernando Valley. There you go, sir.
Okay. Well, we have I believe this is about our police contracts that are going to be extended. And just saying that I understand there's pay increases that are going to be coming up at the back end of this contract. And we're closing fire stations, and yet we're agreeing to give pay increases to another public service that's just as important as fire and ambulance service. I don't think that's the right course of action to be taking. And I realize that there are going to be concessions made, which is what you have to do in this economy. But as of today, there is going to be a lot more demand placed on fire and ambulance services because of these cuts and the rolling brownouts. And the council today should be addressing to stop that, because we are in fire season right now. And this is going to be possibly a record problem because of all the rains that we've had and all of the vegetation in the hills witnessed the Sunland Tonga situation just so recently. So I don't see anything being done. The department head had quit. And it just seems that one department gets all of the attention and the other one gets completely neglected. And they're just as co-equal and just as important to the city, and maybe even fire and ambulance could be even more critical in this season when we're in the biggest heat part of the year that we're going to be in from the next 4 or 5 months. So go back to the drawing table on that and try to find a way to get money to open those fire stations that you're closing, the hazmat unit in Granada Hills that you closed, and do that and address that issue too. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a point of clarification for our viewers, no fire stations in the city of Los Angeles are closing. I'll emphasize that no stations are closing. Mr. Parks, then Mr. Garcetti, and Mr. Parks.
We have the staff come up because I just want to get some things clarified. Primarily, the document I'm looking at is the face sheet on that deals with the financial statement, and you probably have heard this in the ERC, but I have a concern that when you say that we're going to save roughly $316 million over the next 3 years, and the first item we're talking about is overtime implementation. And if I understand what we did on overtime, for the last 2 years we've not given much cash overtime, and the officers will be getting time on the books. So I don't quite understand how we can count that as a savings if we spend $100 million in cash versus $100 million in time. And so we count that as a savings. If I understand the issue of the excessive sick time, that goes on the books where they were getting a check, but at some point when they retire, they cash out. And so how that is viewed as a savings is a concern. And then my final issue is it looks like if I understand the issue of the retiree health, that's really a real savings of about $60 million, but that could creep. If people opt in, it could drop depending on how many people. So where we're talking about $316 million, from my perspective, we're starting with 60 real and a couple of $100 million that we're basically giving people time, but counting it against dollars. And maybe you could, in fact, Ray, let me ask you this is I like to throw them in cycles here, but my fourth question is, isn't this the same dollar value on overtime that we took out of the budget because it was bringing the deficit up artificially? But then we took it and then counted against a savings? Is that the same overtime?
That is correct.
Okay, I just want to know if I was alert. So maybe you can just answer those 12 questions.
Sure. A couple of, to address a couple of your concerns. Certainly, we look at the 316 as savings over the life of the contract. It certainly is a large number, appears very large, but they are some, over the life of the contract, some real hard dollar savings. Whereas in talking and speaking to the overtime cap right now, there is no cash being paid, very little as far as on the reimbursement side, but basically we had some savings this year and moving forward roughly about $80 million. And if through the expiration of the existing contract, if we had to go back and actually pay those folks, we are looking at quite a bit of liability. So we do view this as really a hard dollar savings that we'll be achieving over the life of the contract. Likewise, with the excess sick leave payment, those are hard dollars that we would otherwise have to pay out. And by basically having those payments be banked and then basically paid out when the employee retires, yes, it does create a long-term liability, but certainly in the course of this contract, it is some hard savings. You also mentioned the retiree health freeze. There's roughly about $44 million or so. Quite a bit. There are some things that are changing, some changing dynamics as far as the drop, people who are entering in the drop, who will opt in and actually pay the 2%, which then we actually save some money. And so while the 44 was presented, that is sort of moving somewhat. We still think it's going to be in the same ballpark, and ultimately we're going to have real savings over the next 3 years.
One thing I couldn't find is that on the actual increases that are spread over 3 years, what's the dollar value and the overall percent that we end up with?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the question.
When you go through the 3 years, we talk about 1% here, 1% there, 2% there. What overall, when we count 3 years, what's the percentage that we end up with, and then what's the dollar value?
What was that, 7?
It's actually a 7% increase to the actual base pay over the 3 years, but the way we have it spread out, effectively during that 3-year period, it will cost us 4.3%.
Okay, but then after the 3-year period, the 7 becomes real.
Yes.
Okay, and then what's the dollar value?
During the, I guess I better put my glasses on. During the 3-year term of the contract, 30, 40, 50, it's about $55 million, which we factored in the actual savings actually do account for the expenses for the COLAs.
Okay, and then after the 3rd year, what does that 55 go to?
It'll be about $80 million.
And that $80 million, is that factored into the perceived $316 million savings?
No, it is not.
Okay, so the issue is that, again, if you just go by Bernard Park's philosophy and say the overtime and the sick time are not real savings, and you get to basically the health care, about $60 million, and then we're going to spend $80 million for pay raises, you could come out really about a $20 million deficit as opposed to a savings.
Well, as I've disagreed with you in EERC, I do believe that...
No, just the Bernard Park's premise, that's all. Yeah. Yeah. So just
yes,
humor me, it's a Friday.
under your accounting, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Parks. It is a very important point. I mean, we've made the conscious policy decision in past years to look at that overtime. It is a way of kind of amortizing over time without reducing the number of hours we have of police officer coverage. We will have to pay that, but it's easier to do that over years rather than doing it in a single year. And that was a conscious, hopefully, decision, but an important reminder for us to have. So walk us through, if you will, what we have before us today. Folks, we're voting today on our police contract. Sometimes out there people say, oh, what is this exactly? We hear there's raises out there. We gave you very straightforward bargaining instructions in the EERC and worked very hard on this to make sure that we actually close the deficit, not on any one person's back or any group, but civilians, police, fire will be upcoming to our public speaker's comments. And by the way, rolling brownouts are over. And we have extra deployment for the fire season right now. But walk us through, what was the chunk we were trying to solve for? How does this do that? What does this save us over 3 years under, everything else flat? What money and the raises that we have? What is our philosophy in terms of if you want raises, you pay for them? Can you put that forward for the public and for the council today?
Sure. Certainly when going in as far as the instructions, we were looking at roughly about $114 million as far as a target. And what we put before you...
For a single year?
For a single year. And certainly what we put before you for the first year it meets that target. As we look over the course of the next 3 years, and actually even looking back, for the last couple of years, they have been held flat. And there's an acknowledgement as we go forward to
what does that mean in layman's terms? Held flat mean there was no raises for police officers, right?
No raises, yes.
Correct. The last pay raise that this bargaining unit received was July 1st of 2008.
Okay. 3 years ago. All right, sorry, go ahead. Continue.
So the basic philosophy was going back and trying to achieve those savings both in the current year now and then actually as we go forward. And under this agreement, While there are some COLAs that are being granted in the out years, we're also going to be achieving some long-term savings on the retiree health.
So how do we achieve that?
That is basically through the freezing of the benefit for those who do not opt in to their basic contribution. We have a provision in here where people can basically pay for their actual retiree health of 2%.
So the action that this council took to freeze the rising cost of health care for retiree health will be one way we can save money, though every officer will have the option to do what our civilians have done, which is to pay in so that they're now paying 11% and vest that right so that as it increases, that 2% will help pay for that and will continue to protect that and vest that right, correct?
That is correct.
So that option is there for police officers. Let me ask you something in the middle. Just because the police officers who we love and respect and have been part of bringing down crime, this year it's 6% down homicides, 10% on violent crime, et cetera, would you recommend, simply based on how much we like police officers, that there hasn't been a raise for 3 years, financial situation be damned, give them a raise?
Obviously, no.
Okay. So in looking at this, and I know the ERC wouldn't either, and we certainly consider that, we gave instructions that if there are to be raises negotiated, there has to be some savings. So tell us about year 2 and year 3. If year 1 certainly meets our goal, we have projections that we're not out of the woods yet. People call it a deficit. It's not a deficit because deficits are something you roll each year, but we have a gap each year between what we expect to come in and what our current costs are. So yesterday or 2 days ago, the bond markets responded extremely favorably, the lowest rate we've ever had for our borrowing that we do at the beginning of the year, 27 basis points, which means about 0.25%, almost free money, lower than the county's rate, almost a third of what we had to pay last year. So we're doing those things to close that gap. But for year 2 and year 3, we still anticipate a gap in our budget. What's the challenge with the police officers, and how are we meeting that and not seeing the savings from this year go away?
Again, this is a 3-year contract, and we are basically eliminating all cash overtime for the entire term of this contract. So that $80 million in savings that we're achieving this fiscal year will continue into 12-13 and 13-14. So we anticipate that's about $80 million that we don't have to spend in cash overtime.
Do the health savings continue as well?
The health savings are going to continue. We anticipate it's all going to depend on how many people actually opt into the program and the actuarial studies, but we anticipate that we're going to continue to save anywhere between $30 and $50 million into the future, at least through the term of this contract. So when you're saying that the COLAs are going to cost you about $24 million in 12-13, those are being offset by the savings from the overtime, the cash overtime, the retiree health freeze, and the banking of the excess sick leave, which is a cash savings.
So to be clear, in layman's terms again, while it's $24 million of raises, there's more than $24 million in savings that will offset that and continue to close that gap. It represents our police officers stepping up and being a part of what we've called shared sacrifice here, what we expect out of ourselves, out of our civilian employees, out of our firefighters, et cetera. This, in your mind, as the budget minders of the city, will not put us in a more difficult situation, and it is their fair share.
Correct. In essence, what you said is true. Is they are paying for those COLAs with other concessions.
All right, colleagues, I would ask for your approval today. I want to thank our negotiating team here at the table, done a really great job, and those that they faced on the other side of the table from the Police Protective League for their diligence in seeing this through and making sure that we do have something that. Whenever I've gone to a lot of different employee meetings, I know that they didn't need me for any of the ratification meetings that the PPL had, but certainly our city employees, or some of our city employees, sometimes say, hey, civilians over here are getting off easy. Hey, how about police officers? Hey, how about the firefighters? Everybody believes nobody else is sacrificing. For those of us that have the eagle-eye view, we can see that everybody is, and we appreciate that. It is necessary for these difficult times. It shows real leadership, and I urge you to move forward with this contract today. It'll put us in continuing strong financial footing, and I want to thank our CAO for doing a great job of helping us negotiate and close this deal as well. Thank you. I'd like to recognize Dennis Zine.
Thank you. Thank you. The contract went out for ratification
Yes, it
with the
did.
members of the LAPD? What was the return percent? How many approved it?
Actually, I don't know the percentage, but it was
It was
overwhelmingly
unanimously approved,
ratified.
widely approved, successfully approved?
Yes, successfully
Okay.
approved.
So these officers haven't had a compensation increase since '08,
Yes.
and they're not going to receive anything until the earliest would be next year.
Yes, the first COLA will be July 1st of 2012.
Okay, so that's 4 years, which costs have gone up. The service to the community by the LAPD has continued. As we read in the paper, assaults on officers are up. As we read, there's 30,000 inmates in the next 2 years being released from state prisons into the communities. Many have been to Los Angeles City. So I think it's appropriate that they receive this, and they deserve this. And some may say, why are we doing this? There's only a certain amount of time you can go without having a compensation to adequately support life. I've spoken to some members from the Police Credit Union and said that some officers are facing foreclosure of their homes because of the inability to pay their bills. And I think when we don't give them adequate compensation for that job of protecting and serving the hazards involved, we put the whole city at risk. And they're there through thick and thin, whether it's a rainy day or a hot, blistering summer day. So I agree with the Council President to support this and to let the officers know. I know they've got league directors that are here in chambers monitoring this, that we care about them, that we care about the officers and what they do to protect the people of Los Angeles, and to the negotiations that you've carried on for a long period of time. Congratulations to bring this to a successful conclusion. But I think it's well-deserved, and they've been very patient and not receiving any type of increase in compensation while other costs have gone up for them and their families. In addition, not receiving overtime when they go to court and make late arrests, et cetera. So I think it's a contract that is, in this hard economic times, is the best we can do, but we want to acknowledge our appreciation for what they do every day.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. That's the last speaker on the queue. Let's go ahead on this item then, and please open up the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, that is approved. And we'll go ahead and send that forthwith. Next item, please, or that's the last one. If we can recess the special meeting and go back to the regular meeting, please. Adjourn, excuse me, not recess, adjourn. And if we go back to the regular meeting now, and next order of business.
There's a special one motion has been circulated
All right, who's that submitted by?
by Mr. Reyes.
Okay, and Mr. City Attorney on the findings? Okay.
Since the posting of today's agenda, a need arose to correct the language of the resolution adopted on Tuesday regarding the Monsignor Oscar Romero Plaza. There is an immediate need to act today to correct that language due to the grant submission deadline of today. Council must first make findings pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2 before considering the substantive motion.
Okay, on the findings, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
All right, that is now before us. So with that, Mr. Reyes, I'd like to recognize you on the substance.
This is a very basic technical correction. Essentially, the project was attached to the wrong council file, so we just need to attach our action to the correct council file. It's that basic.
Thank you very much. No one on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Thank you very much. Next item.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
So ordered.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Zine requests to leave at 12 noon on July 5th for city business, and that meets council policy.
Approved.
Councilmember Cardenas requests to be excused on July 26th and 27th for city business, and that meets council policy.
Approved.
That clears the desk.
Thank you very much. Do we have any announcements right now? Announcements, Mr. Zine?
Thank you, Mr. Labange. I want to invite the public on Monday, the 4th of July, to come out to Warner Center Park, Topanga, north of 101 Freeway. We have a free fireworks show and concert, Warner Center Park. Concert begins around 6, fireworks around 9, and we encourage you to take the Orange Line public transit. There's always a huge crowd, 50,000 people. The Ventura Freeway is shut down around 9 p.m., so we invite the public to come out and enjoy this free fireworks show 4th of July Monday at Warner Center Park on Topanga, north of the 101 Freeway. And we wish everyone a very, very happy 4th of July.
Thank you. Other announcements? I know, start with Mr. Englander. That's all right. All right.
And July 4th, Councilman Zine had mentioned they're going to have 50,000 people at Warner Center Park. I believe we're going to have 51,000 people at Shepherd of the Hills to come out to enjoy a spectacular fireworks show as well that our office puts a lot of effort into and supports it. So come on out at Shepherd of the Hills in the northwest San Fernando Valley.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl and then Ms. Hahn. Ms. Hahn and then Mr. Rosendahl.
Gentlewoman.
Well, not to be outdone, down in San Pedro, way over 60,000, I'm sure, show up at Cabrillo Beach. Program starts at 6, but the fireworks start at 9 p.m. It's a beautiful sight watching fireworks explode over at the Port of Los Angeles. Also, that morning, 10:30 a.m. at the Corian Bell, we have our annual our annual 4th of July Independence Day ceremony. And that starts at 10:30 at the Corian Bell in San Pedro.
Mr. Rosendahl, Mr. Zine, and Mr.
Yes,
Alarcon.
thank you so much.
Mr. Reyes and Mr. Parks.
On the 4th of July, obviously, we're all celebrating this great nation that we're part of. Westchester has a parade at 11 o'clock, and it's getting bigger and better every year. People are very excited. But then the big one, folks, is in the Pacific Palisades at 1 o'clock, and we have about 100,000 people. They line the streets like you've never seen before. It's their biggest event of the year. They have a 5-10K run in the morning. So if you're up in the Palisades, we'd love to invite you to our big parade, and then, of course, hang around and watch the fireworks that go on afterwards.
Thank you. I had Mr. Zine and then Mr. Alarcon next.
Just an add-on, if you want to get a wonderful suntan on Monday, come out to the San Fernando Valley. It will be over 100 degrees. If you want to be by the cool breeze, be out with Ms. Hahn at the beach. But if you want to stay cool at the beach, if you want to get a nice tan, come out to the valley. And for the 11 million people in Los Angeles County, I want to caution you that the police chief and the fire chief, the sheriff is advised, watch out for launching fireworks. It's going to be a very warm 4th of July, and don't launch fireworks. It's illegal. There are many free public outings. We encourage you to use those and stay out of jail and stay out of trouble.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon.
Mr. Zine, we encourage you to wear a hat on that day. Council members, I also want to welcome all the other people that aren't going to those other events, the 3-point-something million people who aren't going to those other events to come to Hansen Dam to enjoy the 17th annual Hansen Dam 4th of July Spectacular, where we will be recognizing local heroes as well as military heroes. And we also have a performance by Tierra and numerous other local performers. This is a program I started back in 1994, just after my first year in office, and so we're very pleased that the community has continued this effort. I particularly want to say thank you to Bobby Arias, Chairman, who also runs our Communities and Schools project, who chairs the committee, and all the participants. So please come out to Hansen Dam. It begins at 11 a.m. and goes until the fireworks stop.
Mr. Reyes and Mr. Parks.
I just want to invite everyone to Lincoln Park, formerly known as East Lake, one of the boundaries of the city. It should be very fun. How many?
32 people.
I guess you got 3 million at Hansen Dam, right? Okay. So the good thing will be a lot of parking. So, come down to Lincoln Heights and enjoy it. Lincoln Park.
Thank you. Mr. Parks.
Mr. President, I have two announcements. One, as we followed the LADWP financial plan on the road, they've added one additional meeting. We'd just like to make sure the public, and particularly those in 8th District who have called us about this, is Wednesday, July the 6th, 6:30 to 9 p.m. at the LADWP headquarters at 111 North Hope. Also, we'd like to invite, we have a variety of 4th of July events in the 8th District. We start off with a jazz festival at the Lamert Park at the Vision Theater parking lot. It goes from 1 to 5. We then invite the public to come to the Coliseum after dusk and see the fireworks show there, a 1-hour fireworks show. We also, in conjunction with the CAM, they will have a Target on Monday program that will go from 6 to 8, a live concert at their facility, and they will conclude their program by using the fireworks show as an extravaganza, the conclusion. And then the final program is that in conjunction with KGLH and a variety of nonprofits, there'll be an all-day concert at the Christmas Tree Lane in the park. It's at 1 o'clock until the fireworks show, and it's put on by Better LA, Unity 1, KGLH Radio.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Mr. Labange.
It's a reflective weekend. It's a holiday weekend to think about everyone in America and throughout the world who stands for America, especially the men and women that we serve throughout. Also very cautious because it's high heat, as Mr. Zine said, for fire protection. And I know the fire chief is, I'm told, going to increase staffing because of the high heat, which is very good for that there. Finally, if you do want to go, the Hollywood Bowl has 3 shows. Take the Red Line to Highland Avenue, come up to the Bowl and enjoy the Hollywood Bowl 4th of July celebration. And remember all those who built this country.
Thank you. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. The 2nd Council District, of course, also has fireworks and parades, but all of my constituents already know where they are and when they are, so I don't need to announce those. But I do want to announce a new program that we've started just this morning, which I hope that other parts of the city will also take up, called the Hometown Heroes Recognition Program. And the Sunland Tujunga community has initiated this. That's why I'm wearing this bracelet to raise funds for it. And active duty military personnel and veterans since 9/11 from the community are being honored with street banners hanging from streetlight poles along Foothill Boulevard. And they went up today. They're beautiful. It's a beautiful recognition of the people who are serving and have served our country. And anyone who is interested in recognizing a veteran can contact my office, and we still have room for some more banners.
Thank you very much, Mr. Krikorian. Thanks for doing that. If I can ask everybody in council chambers to please rise for adjourning motions. If I can ask everybody to please stand for our adjourning motions. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Colleagues, I know we all adjourned today in memory of Gladys Wesson Strickland, mother of Councilmember Herb Wesson, a incredibly bright light, a wonderful spirit who was born in Cleveland, Ohio, December 12th, 1931. She was one of 9 children, and she passed this Wednesday. I was able to visit with Gladys last week when Mr. Wesson informed me the mayor had gone by. Some other people went by to see her in the care home that was very close to Cedars-Sinai Hospital, where she was being treated and where she had worked for many years. And she was already one of the most popular people inside that home. Her friendliness, her effervescence, and her mind was sharp all the way till the end. Gladys received her education in Ohio, where she attended Kent State University. And during her employment career, she worked in public school administration as an executive assistant to the dean of Cuyahoga Community College. In 1974, Gladys moved to Los Angeles to join her sons, who were already here. Upon arriving, she made a name for herself by becoming involved in numerous civic and social activities, standing side by side with her son Herb as he worked the trenches of candidates seeking public office. She immediately earned a reputation as an extremely competent, dependable campaign volunteer with the ability to mobilize senior citizens into action. She also worked in numerous voter registration drives and voter education seminars, and just about every campaign in Los Angeles you'd find Gladys preparing food, answering telephones, or sealing envelopes. Gladys was a strong advocate of volunteerism and believed that serving youth, senior citizens, and the community were very important. She was a member of the 10th Councilmanic District Women's Steering Committee, where she was an integral part of the leadership. She was also, thankfully, a member of Women for Wesson, Mothers in Action, the 47th Assembly District Health Commission, and participated frequently in the New Frontier Democratic Club. She was an active member of several senior citizen clubs and centers and served as a den mother for Boy Scouts, a block club coordinator, and was very active in church activities. Another volunteer effort close to her heart was collecting toys for tots during the holiday season. Gladys loved the outdoors and country line dancing. In 1995, Gladys retired, though, from her full-time work at Thalian's Community Mental Health Center at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where she worked for 20 years as a psychiatric patient interviewer. We had a chance to talk about that a bit a week ago, and I know she loved that work that she did, helping turn people's lives around who suffered from mental health issues. As a two-time breast cancer survivor, she participated in support groups and counseling of other women. For several years, she organized teams of walkers in the Revlon Walk for the Cure, raising thousands of dollars for the cause. She was a great example for women who have not only survived breast cancer, but also thrived and lived active, fulfilling lives. Gladys leaves to honor her memory her husband, Lethard Strickland, who she met in line dancing class in 1994, and her two sons, Herb Jr. and Stephen Wesson, her daughter-in-law, Fabian R. Wesson, 6 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. Gladys will be very dearly missed, and to our colleague, all of us adjourn in memory of his mother, Gladys Wesson Strickland. Other adjourning motions? Mr. Cardenas.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. I regretfully announce the passing of Yolanda Rebecca Garcia Rothenay. She passed away on June 5th, 2011. And she was born on September 21st, 1942. She was unable to survive a massive heart attack. Yolanda Rebecca Garcia Rothenay, once again, was born on September 21st, 1942. She lived with her family in Pacoima. She attended O'Malbany Elementary School in San Fernando and then Alemany High School. Upon graduating high school, Yolanda enlisted to the U.S. Army Women's Army Corps and received nursing training. She served as a nurse from 1959 to 1961. She then returned to Pacoima to work as a real estate agent for 27 years. Yolanda was also employed by FEMA, Employment Development Department, and the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Yolanda Rebecca Garcia Rothenay was laid to rest on June 8, 2011 at San Fernando Mission Cemetery. She will be dearly missed and always remembered by her family and friends. She's survived by her daughter, Ubina, and 2 sons, Eric and Mark Rothenay, and 3 grandchildren.
Thank you. Mr. Alarcon would like to second that. Ms. Hahn.
Yes, I'm sad to have us adjourn today in the memory of my cousin, Rick Fox, who, with another doctor, a couple days ago, were swept away by a river in Yosemite when they were on a hiking trip. Rick was a physician's assistant in the Presbyterian Intercommunity Hospital in Whittier, and about 4 of these emergency room doctors and Rick took this annual trip to Yosemite. It's just a tragedy, and the whole emergency room at this hospital, is mourning. One of the doctors his body hasn't been found yet, but my cousin Rick's body was recovered. Rick was 53 years old, leaves his wife Irma. I believe they were married 28 years. They have 3 teenage sons. He leaves his parents, my aunt and uncle, Shirley and Arnold Fox. His sister, Judy Fox, is actually married to Bob Fox, who's an LAPD officer. And then he has another younger brother, Craig Fox. So just a real tragedy, but I would like us to adjourn in the memory today of my wonderful, bright, fun-loving, outdoors-loving cousin, Rick.
Thank you. We'll put all members on that for you, Ms. Hahn. Thank you. Other adjourning motions, Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Mary Margaret McQuirk was born on March 17, 1929 in New Elm, Minnesota. She attended Holy Trinity for 12 years, then went on to obtain her registered nurse diploma from St. Mary's School of Nursing in Rochester, Minnesota. After obtaining her degree, Mary moved to Chicago until her sister was able to convince her to move to Santa Monica. Once Mary saw the ocean, she knew she would never leave California and jumped right into the beach life. In 1952, Mary married Richard McQuirk at a dance at St. Monica's Church, and they were married 6 months later. By 1959, they had permanently settled in Venice, where they raised their 3 children. Mary worked as a nurse for 50 years, of which 31 were spent at St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica. She loved her work, but her real passion was the Venice Breakwater Beach, to where she would bike, run, and later walk to go for an ocean swim. For Mary, this was almost a daily ritual. Mary joined the Venice Beach Penguin Swim Club and organized their New Year's Day swim until 2009. Mary volunteered for many organizations throughout her life. Her favorites were the Ocean Park Community Center and the Catalina Island Conservancy. She also served on the board of the Venice Historical Society and taught CCD at St. Mark's Parish, to which she belonged for over 50 years. Mary was a woman of strong faith, integrity, warmth, and compassion, with a loving sense of humor. Mary passed away peacefully in her home at the age of 82, surrounded by family. She's survived by her son, Michael, who is with us right here today, her 2 daughters, 3 grandchildren, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters. A celebration of life will be held on Saturday, July 23rd at 12:30 at St. Mark's Church at 940 Coeur d'Alene in Venice, California. May she rest in peace.
Thank you very much. With that, Madam Clerk, will you please call